McCullough, and in today's top news story, Oregon Governor Kate Brown urges people to call cops on COVID-19 rule breakers. If you're not familiar with this Oregon Governor Brown, she's not a very good governor. I live in Oregon. I live in Eugene, and I think she does a horrible job. Every single time I see her in the news, she's doing something very irritating that well, I guess you're not allowed to say that makes you want to something or other to her, because the thought police over at YouTube will come and they'll pull your channel like they did to Steve Bannon when Steve Bannon threatened to, or he didn't threaten. This whole thing about Bannon threatening to cut Fauci's head off with a pike is nonsense. There's no truth to it at all. No, he said, if I was in control, I'd put his head on a pike. That's not a threat, dude. That's not advocating violence. It's stupid. A lot of people, this Oregon Governor Brown is a lot like the Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Most of these Democrats are insanely corrupt. They care so much about fairness. They think the other people are racist and sexist, and they're not being fair to the Whaman and the Wafrican Americans and the Wajans and the Kleenex, the Latinx, because it's too sexist to say law and los. The white feminists have canceled Spanish. It is now sexist, and everything has to be an X at the end. And this is my biggest problem with these people, is they never shut up. It's constant, nonstop, just about equality this, racism this, sexism that. It's like, shut up! Every time I turn on the freaking news, you got these people talking about diversity and racism and xenophobia, Islamophobia. Oh my God! People are discriminating against the minority group called the Muslims. 1/3 of the world is Muslim. 1 out of 3 people, 1 out of 3 is Muslim. They're not a minority group, dude. They're a majority. They are, or not a plurality. They're not a majority. Sorry. They are going to be the majority of the people by the time I die, because they have 5 to 6 babies each. And, sorry, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here. Before I get going too much, which one is it? Is it this one? All right. RSS Commentary is an open source news organization. You can find us on GitHub at github.com/RSS Commentary /Cale McCullough. The issue ticket for the show is 109. If you find any sort of factual corrections, you can submit them here down at the bottom in the comments. If you've been paying attention to the show, I usually had all my links and stuff done before the show, but it's getting to be too much of a hassle. So I'm just going to add these links in here as I go. Here. So I'm going to have to take a little break here and there. And you can reference the show here by the number. If you want to make a comment, you could just put it like this. One about this. And you put a comment in there, and then that's going to reference article number 1 if you find a fact check. Back to this article about this absolutely infuriating person. This woman is on par infuriating as Ted Wheeler, who recently had an election against a mayoral candidate who was a full-blown Antifa. And I never thought in a million years I'd actually be rooting for Ted Wheeler, but I was actually rooting for Ted Wheeler, which is just bizarre. Kate Brown, okay, you don't live in Oregon, probably not into politics. Well, you might live in Oregon. But if you're not familiar with the Democrats in Oregon, here's a real quick rundown of how bad these people are. We live next to California. California is a sanctuary state where 27 some odd percent of the state was born in another country. It's a sanctuary state. And there's like what, 40 million people there? So we're talking like over 10 million only over 10 million immigrants in California. So they're a major voter base down there. And so they love the cocaine from the Mexicans. All right. And I don't really necessarily have a problem that they like all of the drugs from the Mexican cartels, but there's 20 illegal immigrants for every homeless person in the United States. You can look those numbers up. Question me on that. It's true. And they're banging cartel dope that they're getting from the cartels. About 70% of, about 30% of federal drug trafficking convictions are from illegal immigrants. So that because they can't work, and because they can't work, they end up getting into narcotics trafficking. And so the Democrats are really in bed with these narcotics traffickers. So who is their voter base down there? You've got your Latinos. In some of the bigger cities, you've got a lot of African Americans. And in the rural areas, it's a lot of Republicans down there. In fact, more than you would think. And so the people in LA and in all of the other big cities like San Francisco, they pretty much run the state. So the entire state of California is run by these Democrat shitbags. And they don't want to enforce their immigration policy. And so the transients from California flood up into Oregon, and they're all banging cartel dope on the streets. They're in California, especially in San Francisco, there's people taking shits on the street. All these homeless people banging cartel dope. You can walk down the street and step in a pile of shit right next to a skyscraper where there's a bunch of multimillionaires up there. And they don't want to do anything about the illegal immigrants because most of them vote for Democrats. This is how corrupt these people are. There's 1 million immigrants coming into the United States every year. 1 million. Do the math. I'm going to live about 85 years old. Hold on. I'm going to live about 80 years. There's about 1 million immigrants coming in per year. So do the math. Over my lifetime, there's going to be about 80 million immigrants coming in. And they're lovely people. I'm not knocking. I got lots of immigrant friends. They're great people. But we, as a society, are very feminist and very educated. And feminist and educated people do not have very many children. So our population is shrinking. And then we're bringing in 1 million immigrants per year. 1 million immigrants per year while our population is shrinking. Basically, what we're doing is we're giving our country away to people who are outside of the country. It used to be our population was growing. So we bring in some other people and it's not a big deal. They join our family and everything's good. But with this situation, what ends up happening is the immigrants are having about 2.9 kids per woman. So over my lifetime, that ends up turning out to be 120 million more people. These people, you can't talk about this shit. To them, this is neo-Nazi. To just even say that we should have 500,000 immigrants instead of 1 million. That's Nazi to these people. You can't bring this shit up because they are so obsessed with racism, sexism, and xenophobia that they don't like white people. Trust me, I live in Oregon. I talk to these people about racism all the time. They are crazy. They don't like white people, even though they're white. They think, okay, the women will be like hippie chicks, and if they're older, they'll act like they're like Amerindians. They're like, you'll get like this white chick that like she's like Elizabeth Warren, dude. She has like maybe 1/1000th Native American blood in her. Sorry, I dislike the term Native American. Native is a temporary status. You can be indigenous, but being native means that you're from a place, that you were one of the original people like you from a place. It doesn't mean you were the first people to ever go to that place. It means that when you say, what does a native from South America look like? What does the native from North America look like? What does someone who is native to Europe look like? What does someone who is native to Australia look like? Well, it used to be that people native to Australia were black. But then over time, people moved there, and then these people changed. So they were at one point in time looked very different. They were shorter. They were... that's all I can think of right now is that they were shorter. And then after the white people moved in, then they evolved. So, and then they're turned into different groups of people. So they mated with the Aborigines. Some of these people are different. So the people who mated with Aborigines, they created a different race. Where is this race native to? Australia. It's not native to anywhere else. It's native to Australia. Just like the Oregon blackberry. Blackberries were originally not native to Oregon. Nothing was ever native to anywhere. There was no native anything. Originally, plants just went places and then they evolved. And then we think of things as native, but there's like many evolutions. Like you're talking millions of years down the line from that. But I just have a problem. I would prefer to call them indigenous and then say that we're native to here because like the Oregon blackberry evolved in Oregon and it wasn't here before, but it's a unique kind of blackberry and it is native to Oregon. So whereas the blackberries are not originally native to Oregon, at some point in time, these things become native. It's not a permanent thing. But was it indigenous to it? That's where it's like you're kind of blending and mixing words. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. Let's get into this article. Oregon Governor Kate Brown is urging residents to rat out their neighbors who break COVID-19 restrictions by having too many guests over on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving has been canceled. You're not allowed to give thanks with your community because Oregon Governor Kate Brown wants to try to help you out. And she wants to prove to you how good of a job Democrats do when they control everything in your life. Because they're here to try to help you, right? Right. So then they're going to force you to wear a mask. And what does forcing you to wear a mask do? It slows down the rate of spread of COVID. It does. Here, let me pull out the link to, I found a study. It'll show you there's an exponential rate of spread. A lot of people, this is kind of like being against mass mandates. They think that like there's like a lot of different things that people end up thinking. And being against masks does not mean that you're anti-science, does not mean... I'm an engineer. I'm all about science. I'm going to pull out some science here. Let's look at it. Here it is. So this is just a study, and I don't know too much about this study. I'm just showing you that there's this rate of spread. Okay, and that was in here. So here's their model and analysis. And so they have this thing, it's called, this is R naught, this R0. And there's some math formulas for how this thing spreads, but it ends up turning into just basically just this one. It's e to the negative alpha r int, or also called RT, R sub t. So what this is it's an exponential rate of spread. So I'm trying to find the rate of spread. So here's what the masks do. Sorry, let me say what the title is first here. I'm getting ahead of myself. The title is Mask or No Mask for COVID-19, a public health and market study. And what you're going to see with these masks here is one thing. There's different rates of spread. Some of these rates of spread had masks on, some of them did not. And what you're going to find, here's the values over here. Can you see these? So here's 2.0. So what you're going to see is that the people who wore masks decreased the rate of spread of COVID, right? So this is why they're saying we should wear masks, right? Because they're like, yeah, this is the science, right? Only these people suck at science. They don't know what they're talking about at all. The rate of spread means it's going to spread everywhere. And if there are int or r sub t is if it is equal to 1, then it does not spread. Okay, it's an exponential formula, and I think it was e to the x. So let me do this in Notepad. So it was e to the alpha r int. Okay, this is the formula, right? So f, and then alpha is a multiplier, and I think they just ditch it. So if r int equals 1, then a equals e. E is a number, equals 1.71. Okay, so what this is saying is that there's a high rate of spread, and it's about 1.7. So we're going to say R, see, when you do the math, it makes a lot more sense with this shit. If it's R equals 1.7, then each, this is, it's a compound thing. So each time it gets bigger. So we would say R, this is A naught. A naught equals E to the 1.7. That's what we're doing here. It's called exponential rate of spread using a, what is this, a Gaussian? I think it's a Gaussian. So we're basically doing E, oh, sorry, it's 2.71. Boy, I botched that one. Oops. Sorry, 1.71. 1.7, that was a little bit confusing. So then that is equal to, we're going to do an exponent to a 1.7. All right, so at first we had 2.71, and then we ended up with this number. So that was the second step of the iteration. First, we had 2.71 patients, the number E, and then after that, we had an exponential rate of growth. And after that, this R int can change. So let's say we put on masks. We put on masks, so we're going to change it. This is going to drop your R int down to 1.5 with the masks on. Then A sub 2 is equal to 5.47, hold on, 2.71 plus this. Right, did I get that right? Let me do the, just to make sure that I got my stuff right. So here's the 1 point, that's just 1.7. Add another 2.71 to it. I forgot to add, I just did the exponent. So at the next step, we get 8.13. And then we're going to put on the masks. And then we're going to make e to the 1.5, right? So then we add the previous stage and we get 12. And so what this does is, what this is going to do is every single time it's going to add on exponents, okay? So what you can notice here, this number is still growing. We put on the masks. We didn't do anything, dude. All we did was slow it down. This is the flatten the curve thing, where the curve was a Gaussian curve and then we flattened it. That's what they're trying to do. This is the flatten the curve thing, dude. It doesn't make any sense. And for the following reason, you're going to get COVID multiple times in your life. You can get a vaccine for COVID. You can get a vaccine for the flu. And you can still get the flu. Duh! It's not anti-science to be against these masks at all. Because we're saying, basically, they're making this rule so that people feel good, so that they'll vote for Democrats. Because the Democrats are doing such a good job. They're taking care of us. They're the ones that are shutting down Thanksgiving, making sure that grandma is stuck in the nursing home with all the other COVID patients, while Kate Brown is probably going to be with her family. She's going to break the quarantine rules like most of these other Democrats do. That's why they're corrupt. They're in with drug addicts, dude. These people are associated with people who sell meth, heroin, coke, all kinds of stuff, dude. I'm in Oregon, dude. I know all about the drugs here, dude. Know all about it, dude. But this is what's going to happen, is this number is just going to keep on growing. It's going to keep growing. You can't stop it. You can't. The only thing that's going to stop this is herd immunity. It's the only thing that can physically possibly make the R int go down. You can't make it go away. You can't. It's a physical impossibility. It's like saying, here, let me skip over here to another article here from another idiot. Here's another article from the Daily Mail. It says, coronavirus could be stopped if 70% of people wore masks. Wow! Whoa! You mean if we just had worn N95 masks, this pandemic would never have happened? No. That's stupid. That is stupid. Why on earth would anybody who witnessed this pandemic go around where people are in China are wearing masks? Why would anybody think this, dude? The people in China were wearing masks. They were. They locked themselves down. They didn't just lock themselves down. They welded the apartment building shut, bro. They welded the apartments shut. That's why this is bullshit. It's all bullshit. You cannot stop the flu by wearing a mask. The only thing that can stop the flu is your immune system. Duh. A lot of people just don't know anything about COVID or the flu. I made ventilators. This is why I know what I know. I'm an engineer. I modeled the human immune system in a computer in engineering school using a genetic algorithm so that I could play around with genetic algorithms and robotics to make these quasi robotic viruses and leukocytes using genetic algorithms to try to basically cut the viruses off from their rate of spread. So I know a lot about these rates of spread. I've looked at them in computers. And the thing about it is COVID mutates. It's just like the flu. And each mutation has a different set of proteins. Inside of your body, you have white blood cells. Some of them are called leukocytes. These leukocytes actually used to be a different organism. They were a symbiotic bacteria that there were two different bacterias, and then there was a DNA virus that went and transferred the DNA between the two viruses. This is how the immune system evolved. The virus, which was a DNA virus just like HIV, shared the DNA, and then the white blood cells became the immune system. They were actually at one point in time bacteria that would eat us. And then they became symbiotic, and they tracked down viruses or infected cells by basically, quote unquote, smelling them. They don't have a nose, but it's a chemical scent that's in your blood. And each of your leukocytes are going to be able to detect different proteins. And when they do detect these proteins, they go and they eat the cell that had those proteins. And this is how your body fights off cancer, the flu, COVID, everything. This is why you get severe acute respiratory syndrome. It's because your white blood cells are smelling the wrong cells. They're attacking healthy cells because they don't have the correct chemical signature. They can't smell it. This is why the only way to stop COVID is with your immune system. Because you could wear a mask. You could wear a hazmat suit, dude. You're not going to stop it, dude. It'll come back again. It'll do the same thing. How many people had COVID at first, dude? How many people? One. One person started the entire pandemic. One person. That's why it's bullshit. All this mass shit's bullshit. It's lies. Lies. Sorry, I'm peeking out here. I'm gonna turn this mic down. I apologize about the mic being up too loud. I can see that I'm peeking here. So we can't just put on a face mask and make this stuff all go away. First off, when you wear a face mask, it makes people who are sick feel like they can go around out in society and they can get everybody sick and it does not matter because they're wearing a mask. They're not going to get you sick. They're wearing a mask, man. They got an N95. And the problem with that is at some point in time, the person has to take off the mask. At this point in time, our int is not 1. Our int is absolutely greater than 1. Absolutely greater than 1. And when our int is greater than 1, COVID spreads. These people are saying, oh, but our int is going to be less than 1. No. Our int is not less than 1 if you wear an N95 mask, dude. This is just fake news. Fake news. There's no scientific backing behind this. The science very clearly says that there's proteins, that your white blood cells need to be able to smell the correct protein signature. That's the science. And the backing research is hemagglutinin and neuropeneira disease, surface proteins. So this is the stuff that the the white blood cells are going to be able to smell. So in 1918, most people think that everybody died from the flu. This is not true. People didn't die from the flu in mass numbers in 1918. They died from pneumonia. And they got pneumonia not from the flu. They got it from bacteria. That's why everybody died. They died because of bacteria. It was not the flu that killed them. It's a lie. These people don't know what they're talking about. So in the 1918 flu pandemic, some people had a lower chance of dying than others. And research showed that these people had oh, hey, look, we even have the things right here. Look, the H3N2, right? So there's two different, there was two different strands of flu. One of them had that people had gotten before 1918 that gave them some immunity to the H1N1. One of them had the HA protein. The other one had the NA protein. It was something like, I don't know, this is one of these H3N2. There's a bunch of them. I don't know if exactly if it was that one. So the people who only had the HA, that didn't affect them. That didn't reduce their chance of dying. The people who had only the NA strand of flu did not reduce their chance of dying. The thing that reduced their chance was that they had both the HA and the NA strands before. They didn't have a flu vaccine. That didn't exist. They didn't know what a vaccine was. They had gotten it without wearing a mask, and that's what saved their life. That's why these mask mandates are absolute bullshit. No scientific evidence backing them up. They're just saying, oh, well, better safe than sorry. It'll make other people feel comfortable. That is the reason why we have mask mandates. It is absolutely not. It's absolutely not because because it's going to stop COVID or it's going to prevent you from dying from COVID. This is the biggest problem with these people and why they don't know anything. There's something called a 10x flu, such as H1N1. It kills 10 times as many people. All right. So what that means is each time you have the flu, you have X% chance of dying from the flu. And if you get the flu 10 different times, you have the same chance of dying from a 10x flu, right? Makes sense. Nice and easy numbers, right? These are the science that we like. So there's 6 strands of COVID. Only one of them is very deadly. That's the 10x. The other ones, some of them are not deadly at all. There's lots of coronaviruses, dude. You get coronaviruses all the time. It's called the common cold. It is. It's literally the common cold. Only this strand of coronavirus is a novel coronavirus because it has some proteins that allow it to be very good at infecting cells. And then when it gets a lot of infections in the cells, your immune system starts smelling the wrong cells and it starts eating the wrong cells. That's how you get severe acute respiratory syndrome and the pneumonia-like symptoms. So since there are 6 strands of COVID and one is a 10x, if you get all the strands of COVID, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means you have 5 1x chances of dying. That is dramatically less than 10x. It's dramatic. It's half. You have half the chance of dying if you get all 5 of the other strands of COVID before you get the really deadly strand of COVID. They don't know what they're talking about. And it's because they're scared. It's because they're scared. It's not because they're not smart. It's not because I'm not the only person who knows this. It's because they're Democrats. It's because 94% of scientists vote for Democrats. It's because Democrats made wearing masks a partisan issue because they want to get the scared vote. They want to get grandma and grandpa, all the fat people. They want all the black people. They want all the Latinos. And so this is why they're always putting out articles saying how much more black people are dying from COVID. Right? Yeah, like black people are in particular susceptible to COVID, right? No, black people are on average fatter. On average, they got some fat ass big black chick with that big old booty. That like better caboose, bro. That's why. It's because they're overweight. It's not because they particular are like the Amerindians that they didn't have immunity to smallpox because they're in the same communities as us. They're getting the same diseases as us. They don't have any special non-immunity. The only reason why is because of their dietary choices. It's their dietary choices, dude. So what are they causing? What are the Democrats having us do? What is the result of the Democrat policies? People are sitting around at their house. They're not at the gym. They're eating really bad food because they're broke as fuck and they're getting fat. And they're getting older. And the two primary determinations of you having a high rate risk of death from COVID are that you're old and that you're overweight. You don't even have to be that overweight. I recently got depressed because one of my best friends in the world died like a month ago. This is why the show hasn't been on. And I gained a bunch of weight. I was working out. I had big muscles and I just stopped. I shut down and then I gained all the weight back that I had lost, which is really upsetting. But you know what? Most of the people who are watching this show are probably saying, dude, you're skinny. Shut up. You don't have anything. Like, I'm fat. Yeah. So, but why am I gaining this weight? Because I'm sitting around in my house because we got quarantined and I'm not at the gym like I'm supposed to be. This is the fundamental problem with Democrats. And when people are trying to help other people, especially the government, private citizens helping other people usually turns out good. But whenever the government gets involved, you better bet your bottom dollar they're going to mess everything up, man. They're going to fuck it up, bro. They're going to do more harm than they are going to do good. They're going to, whenever it's over, they're not going to want to give away their powers. Politicians are drunk on power. They've always been drunk on power. This has never changed. Ever since the dawn of humanity, whenever someone got control over someone else, they got drunk on power. It's a fact. They're not going to give it up. They're going to say, no, we're doing such a good job. They were like, oh, but we got used to it. We're like, this is normal now. And then so what they do is they add more because you just normalize them taking away your freedom. And then what they do is they find another reason. It started out as COVID, and then next thing you know, it was the flu. And they're like, well, we did it for COVID. And COVID's is less deadly than the flu. So now we're going to do it for the flu too. And then it just never ends. That's how you end up going the slippery slope down into authoritarianism, is because politicians fundamentally cannot be trusted. Not on the left, not on the right, not on the center, nowhere. Not a single politician in the entire world can be trusted with your freedom. They will all abuse their power. They will be petty. They will be vindictive. They will be controlling. They will be manipulative. They will be manipulating. They'll be liars. That's because that's how politicians are. That's just human nature. When people get in control, they get drunk on their power. That's just how people work. You're going to have to put up with it. Doesn't mean that people are bad people. It just means that when people get into certain positions, certain patterns emerge, such as the abusive prison guard. And this is an element of human nature that we have to mitigate. Already, as is, we don't need any government intervention to shut the economy down. COVID did that on its own. People did that on their own. The government didn't force people to go out and panic buy. There wasn't even a quarantine. This was before the quarantine. People went out and panic bought, and they went to their house and they self-quarantined because we're not stupid. We don't need the government to tell us to stay at our house. We're already doing that too much. We did not slow down R0. Sorry, no, R0's the first one. R0's the initial. That's the, whenever there was one person, that person gave it to 3 people, then R0 is log base. If the first person gave it to 3 people, E is 2.71. So you would do natural logarithm of 3. Right. And so R0 would be 1.0986 because I know how to do math. That's R0. That's R0. That's what it was. And then it went up, and then now it's at 1.7. And then you put the mask on and it goes down to 1.5. It does not go down to 1. It does not go down to 1. These people here at the Daily Mail are liars. If that was true, if it was true that wearing a face, okay, so most people get COVID at their house. Most people, or a friend's house. People don't get COVID out at the grocery store, dude. Like maybe some of them did if they were talking really close to people. The vast majority of people are going to get COVID before they ever show any signs. They're going to get it when they talk to someone else, and then aerosols will come out. And wearing an N95 mask all day long everywhere is going to make people kill themselves. At that point in time, the other people need to die first because you are the one that needs to protect yourself. If you want to wear a mask, if these masks are supposedly so effective, why don't you wear the mask, buddy? Why don't you wear it? Apparently it's so effective you could talk to me while I don't have a mask on and you have a mask on and you won't get COVID. Apparently it's that good. Only it's the real world. We don't live in a sandbox, dude. You got to take your mask off to eat. You got to talk to people. People can't hear what you're saying with the mask on. You're muffled. Eventually you're going to take it off and you're going to go talk to somebody. And then you're going to probably give them COVID. And if you don't have any contact with people, you're not going to get the cold. You're not going to get the flu. Then later on, we're going to have a 10x flu season, and it's going to be the same thing as in 1918. You didn't have immunity from the HA flu strand, and you didn't have immunity from the NA flu strand, and you died. Your immune system is immaculate. It was created by God. It is the most amazing thing in the universe aside from our brain. The immune system is crazy powerful. It's multiple organisms that fuse together with a DNA virus that share DNA. That is insanely complicated. To be able to have that, like the chance of that happening is like, it's so minuscule, the chance that that would even happen. You put a bunch of chemicals in a soup and then all of a sudden these things just start moving around, turning into animals. They're like walking around, and next thing you know, you got a human making spaceships and going to Mars. And that's the thing that they're limiting. They're limiting at this very moment. We've got plans hatched to colonize Mars. We could also get hit by an asteroid at any point in time. Whether or not we quarantine is not necessarily going to save any lives at all, because everybody's going to get COVID multiple times in your life, and the primary risk of you dying is you being either really old or fat. That's the no, it's not just fat, it's overweight. Like, I am at risk at this point in time. Like, I'm not too bad, I'm like, gained a little bit, but I'm not horrible. This is enough fat to make me at risk of dying from COVID. It is. So instead of trying to isolate ourselves and make ourselves more fat, we should probably work out so that we lose the fat, so that we have a lower risk of death. That's what I care about, dude. I care about the lower overall risk of death. I do not care about the first risk of getting COVID, of dying. That's not what I mean. I'm looking at the long term, dude. I'm a scientist. I wrote the world's fastest number printing algorithm. I like math. I look at the long term in this. And for me, the best thing for me to do is to get COVID a couple of times, get some vaccines, and then at that point in time, my white blood cells will be able to smell the correct proteins so that they're not attacking healthy cells, so I get secure acute respiratory syndrome. It's completely obvious. If you know a little bit about how the immune system works, it's completely obvious that these lockdowns are absolutely bogus. And this bitch, fuck this Governor Kate Brown bitch. Dude, fuck her. Trying to get people to snitch on people for going to Thanksgiving. Fuck you, Kate Brown. Brown recently limited the number of people allowed in private homes to 6 as part of a 2-week quote-unquote freeze for the entire state to help curb the spread of the coronavirus. So how bad is Oregon? You think there's like people dying everywhere, dude? Like, the hospitals are full. Nobody can get in. People are like dying in the streets. It's not true. Here's the COVIDUSA.net stats. They pull their numbers off the CDC. And we can see, yeah, there was a huge number of infections. And then you look at the death rate and you're like, okay, well, yeah, it did go up. It went up from 6 a day to 9 a day. So it went up by 1/3, which is nothing to, I'm not discounting those people's lives. But the majority of these people were over the average age of death. The majority of them were going out. They could have gotten the flu and they would have died. They could have gotten pneumonia. They would have died. They could have gotten COVID and they would have died. But about 5, what's the test positivity rate? Test positivity rate is about 12. So one would expect that 12% of people who die would just have COVID. Just statistically, it would be an anomaly that because 12% of the people had COVID, 12% of the people that died would also too have COVID, right? Yeah, we would totally expect that. Actually, that would. So let's look at the COVID numbers. Here's the provisional death counts. Let's look at the numbers. Here we have deaths from all causes. Okay. All right. So let's see what the projections would be. What is the day of the year? This is the 329th day. So let's divide this number by 329 and let's multiply it. It is a leap year, but we have to we can't compare to a leap year. We have to do non-leap year for this comparison. So at this point in time, if we continue with the same death rate, we're going to have 2.843 million people will have died. Let's look up how many people died in 2018. Boom! Shut the fuck up, Kate Brown! Shut the fuck up! That's the same number of people that we just estimated are going to die. Right there. Boom. Look at it. 2.843 million. Look at the number again. 2.839 million. That means our population just grew. We just brought in another 2 million immigrants, remember? We're on track to have the same number of deaths as 2018. What the fuck are we doing locking our state down? We're destroying our economy when we have about the same number of deaths as 2018. This is bullshit. Bullshit. These people are fucking liars. I have a lower risk of death. Lower risk of death than I did in 2018. Why are we locking down the state? It's because they're scared. They're cowards. They're Democrats. They just want to get scared old people to vote for them. That's all they want. It's a scam. I have a lower risk of death than in 2018. Why the fuck am I worried about dying? I'm not. I'm not trying to discount all of these people who are dying. I'm not discounting these people. But there's a problem. When you make everybody wear masks, it makes them want to commit suicide. I personally, after my friend died, I felt like committing suicide for a month. And it's because I'm in lockdown. I haven't seen friends in months. My friend died, and then next thing you know, I'm like almost suicidal. This shit comes out of the fucking blue, dude. And at a certain point in time, I need to care about myself more than some old person that's going to die anyways. Not trying to discount your life. But my life is the one that matters the most to me. My family's life is the one that matters the most to me. Our family, everybody in our family that is here at this house, that's what matters. And so I'm going to make my actions based on what is in my family's best interest. I'm not going to make my actions based on some other family's best interest. This is why Democrats suck. They suck. Because they are leftist. Leftists care more about other people than they do about their own family. And it's because it's politics. Because their friends like them for it. Because they get into the community that were the cool people that wore the clothes that they like. They're doing coke and getting blasted on meth too. And that's the problem with these people. These Democrats, a lot of them are drug addicts, man. They straight up well, hold on. There's nothing wrong with them blowing a bunch of blow in the bathroom. I'm in Oregon. Cocaine is legal here, along with LSD and mushrooms, and so you're actually legally allowed to do cocaine in the bathrooms now. So I'm not dogging on all that super high quality cocaine coming from the Mexicans. I'm not. In fact, I really like the Mexicans, and their coke is really good, right? But it gets out of control. These people, the cray just keeps going and going and going. And then they get this game of telephone going where like people will get a couple of facts. They'll know one or two things and then they'll repeat the fact, but they don't repeat it right? They change the to that, and they change 10 to 100 or to 50 if you're lucky. Next thing you know, it's like they're saying that like 28 million people died in car accidents in Oregon in the last month or something because of COVID. It's like some batshit crazy thing like QAnon or something. Although, hold on, QAnon's not 100% batshit crazy. Okay, most of that shit's batshit crazy, but like it's scary what percentage of people are pedophiles. It's at least one. up to 3% of people are pedophiles. And so statistically speaking, there's like about 27,000 pedophiles that work for the United States government, which is scary. That's creepy. And there's also cartels, and they have human smuggling networks. There's people that are involved in these cartels that kidnap children and women to use as sex slaves, and then they murder them. It's actually real. It's actually something that happens. And there's also that Bohemian Grove thing that actually is legit. And they do actually do satanic rituals at Bohemian Grove. It's actually, they do it. They have some owl god. They do a ritual human sacrifice of children. And this information I got from Alex Jones on the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't know if that's legit, but we do know that Bohemian Grove is legit. We do know that Epstein was associated with Bohemian Grove, and that we do know that Ghislaine Maxwell's father is there's evidence that he was involved in a blackmail ring using hookers. So the whole story is not completely batshit crazy, but most of it is, especially they're making gravy out of babies' brains part. Like that one's just straight up, woo, damn, sound like it came from grandma or something. Shit, woo. Let's get back to this article. I think I've said my piece there about these about the masks. So Oregon has more than 66,000 reported cases in the state, according to the Oregonian. And while that might sound like a lot, you have to look at the death rate. That's COVID is less deadly than the flu. It's less deadly than the flu. The only reason why COVID is a problem is because it's the novel coronavirus, and our immune systems don't know how to track it down to fight it. We've seen humanity has survived a lot worse viruses than this. This is nowhere near as bad as polio, or measles or mumps. Like those ones were really bad. The COVID, not that bad in terms of viruses. The flu can mess you up. I've had H1N1 so bad that I was shaking and I thought I was going to die. And sadly, I did not go to the hospital. I could have died. I definitely feel like I could have died. But the reason why COVID's so deadly is because it's spreading around so much. It's the R-int. It's that rate of spread here. Here's the R-int from that article that we read earlier. And you can see R-int goes up. That's why it's so deadly, is because it's flying around. That it absolutely is not deadly because of it being a coronavirus and it having special abilities to spread faster in your body. That's not what makes it deadly. It's what makes it deadly is your leukocytes can't smell it. That's what makes it deadly. And because of that, it causes it to have a higher rate of spread. And when it has a higher rate of spread, it means it flies around. And that means more people will die simply because more people are infected. So let's look again at this rate. So you're like, okay, 10 people died per day. Half of those people were over the average age of death, and they were going to die this year anyways. So let's look at this and say, woo, 1,252 cases per day. This is so horrible. These people are getting antibodies to COVID so their bodies can fight the 10x strand of COVID later. They're stupid. Not them, but the Democrats are stupid. The CDC is controlled by Democrats. They hate Donald Trump. This whole thing has been them versus Donald Trump. CDC versus Trump. It's all about them having control because they have been watching the mainstream media and they're completely brainwashed from this journalist class from the big MSM, and they believe anything they say. They read an article and they're scared and talking about it all day, man. And then it goes from one thing to another. It started out, we're going to flatten the curve. And then it turned into, we're going to eradicate the virus. Then it turned into, we're going to wait till a vaccine comes out. And then when the vaccine comes out, oh, it's only temporarily effective. We still got the flu. That means we need to keep in lockdown perpetually. And that's what Biden wants to do. China Joe, the guy whose crackhead son was getting hundreds of, hold on. I don't know exactly how much money he got. I do know it was over $10 million. I don't know if it was over 100 million. I'm retracting that. But he got millions of dollars, personally enriched himself because China Joe couldn't take the money and put it in his own pocket. So he had his crackhead son funnel the money so that he could just say it was, they just like met. No, I have nothing to do with it, you know? I'm not pocketing money from it. Doesn't make me richer when you make my family richer, right? Yeah. Yeah, I got a big problem with that, dude. I got a big problem with people who are they took a over $1 billion loan from the Chinese government. Over $1 billion for the company that China Joe's crackhead son, Hunter Biden, was working for, that with that really super shady Ukrainian energy board. This stuff just will continue to go. It's been going on with Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. I don't know too much about the Obama's finances. I don't know, but China Joe's involved in there. These people are all shady, man. They're criminals, dude. They're in with cartel people who are slinging massive amounts of narcotics, dude. They're corrupt Democrats from California, like Kamala the Snitch Harris, the hoe that slept her way up to the top of the California Democratic Party when she slept with Willie Brown, the Democrat kingmaker, former mayor of San Francisco, the one that was married when she slept with him. So she's a home wrecker. She's a hoe. She's a hussy. This is who they're trying to put in office, and they've been rigging elections. They have. There's very, very clear evidence that shows that Dominion system voting machines were indeed using the software that was created by that Smartmatic company that was owned by Venezuelans who were connected to Maduro and also George Soros. It doesn't matter that they sold the company. It does not matter. They're still using the same software, dude. It's a scam. Of course. Do you really think that like the Chinese and the Venezuelans who are in on this coup that they're just going to like let the company be still under the control of the people that are tied directly to Maduro? No, of course not. No, they're going to sell the company and they're going to keep using the software. They use here, let's watch this vote. Hold on. No, wait. I can't do that. We're going to watch it in a video here on one of the next stories, the how to hack a voting machine. And you'll see exactly how insecure these voting machines are. They use Windows. I'm a computer engineer. I build computer motherboards and MIDI controllers that have built-in sound cards with the computer in it to do DSP effects. It's kind of like a Rode Podcaster. So I know a lot about how they built their system, and it is egregious. It's egregious. Just, if you want to look it up right now, go look up the Symantec video of how to hack a voting machine. And you'll see these voting machines are nowhere near secure in any way, shape, or form. If I was going to make a secure voting machine, I would use Embed. I would not use some super sketchy closed source voting machine software. I would use a system that you could know exactly what it was, and it would still be physically impossible for you to hack that system. They literally have these voting machines hooked up to the internet where they can remotely go in and edit the votes. All they need is to have one of the hardwired backdoor keys. They've got these keys set up so the people monitoring the elections can they can add whoever they want, and then those people can go in the system while they're there. And then they have another backdoor using the internet where their people can remotely change the votes. And you got that thing in Wayne County where they shut down in Michigan, right near Detroit. Detroit's in Wayne County. They shut down the election offices. Then overnight, they ended up getting 173,000 votes for Biden. Only 3% of them were for Trump. That's statistically impossible. It's not possible. 85% of black people voted for Biden. I mean, maybe in some districts, it might have been possible to get that percentage of votes in a small number of districts. It's not possible to get those numbers all overnight. Absolutely not. All 97%. Like they're like, oh well, Trump's winning, and then they shut the thing down for a night, and then all of a sudden Biden's winning. Got 173,000 votes all in a row for him. I'm not buying that one at all. Then you got Georgia where they're like doing the recount, and then people are giving reports that they found ballots that didn't look like they had a crease in them at all. And then they had one vote on it, and that vote was for Biden. That's fraud. And people are like, oh no, that could never happen. That could never happen, right? No, we're in America. People don't cheat in elections in America. You ever heard of Jimmy Carter? Jimmy Carter, when he was elected governor of Georgia, the state of Georgia, they had election fraud. Jimmy Carter took the state of Georgia to court, and he proved that there was gross mismanagement in the election, and the courts overturned the election and installed Jimmy Carter as the governor of Georgia. That was very recently. And why? It's because Democrats in big cities are insanely corrupt. They're insanely corrupt. When parties are in control, they will, when they have access to the election systems, there's a high probability chance they're going to start committing fraud at some point in time because it's just human nature. People get abusive. Like you got a big city where there's a bunch of jerk big city people. They don't care. They're callous. They want the homeless people to get eaten by bears. They hate. If there's a lot of black people there in the city, they'll hate racist people. So they'll do anything in their power to prevent a racist white person from getting elected. This is why there is ample motivation in order for them to commit election fraud. And where there is a will, there is a way. Now, was that way in all the states? You know, I've only heard decent stuff from Pennsylvania, probably going to go to Trump. Michigan, probably going to go to Trump. Georgia, we don't know. That one's up in the air. The first recount didn't show any anomalies, but they did not look for the signatures. The way that they did it, they're like trying to do some bullshit secret ballot thing. It's like, they're like, secret ballots are impossible to track. You have to have a voter ID. Whenever you get a ballot, if you don't want your ballot tracked, you're free to throw away your ballot ID. That you absolutely do not need to verify your vote after you voted. But in the real world where people cheat and where ballots get thrown away due to signature mismatch, you might want to actually check up on your ballot to make sure they didn't just throw out your ballot based on the signature. Right? Yeah, because that would only make sense to do that. You can't do that with a secret ballot. They got some bullshit thing where like, oh no, we want to be completely anonymous. And it's like, okay, so you have a right to a secret ballot. That does not mean you have the right to not have a secret ballot. They're putting it in the negative. They're saying everyone has to have a secret ballot. No, that's bullshit. That's how you rig elections. No, you need to get a ID number for the ballot. And after the election is over, they need to post every single ballot so you can go to a public place such as your library or city hall, and you need to check whether or not your ballot ended up getting scanned right. You need to do that. They cannot do that. This system is ripe for corruption. Not only is that system ripe for corruption, these voting machines are insanely easy to hack. What does this have to do with Cover Brown? I'm going to tie it back into the story. These Democrats, they in Oregon, we have mail-in voting. And when you do mail-in voting, you vote at your house and you have people at your house who can intimidate you. Not only can they intimidate you, people have guns at their house. There are lots of laws that prevent you from having guns around polling stations. Why? Because it's voter intimidation. But here in Oregon, we just did this only mail-in ballots again. We've been doing only mail-in ballots for a while. And the problem with this is you end up getting all your information from Facebook. You can't, when you're in line at the polling place, you can't talk about what candidates you're going to vote for, get people to vote on your side, distribute information. You can't do that. That's called free speech. That's called petitioning the government on state property. And what they did was they reduced the times, places, and manners in which you can speak on state property and petition the government. Voting in person is essential to a democracy. Voting by mail is not essential to a democracy. It's not. No, voting in person is the number one most essential method of democracy. And it's because you can talk to people in line. That democracy is not done over the internet with your Facebook friends that are controlled by Mark Zuckerberg and your Twitter group that's controlled by Jack Dorsey controlling what messages you see. We end up with a situation where we're getting fed, the leftists are getting fed a different set of facts on Facebook through the media outlets that are they're paying to advertise on Facebook. So their news stuff will show up in your feed because Facebook is paying for that to happen. They're paying Facebook for that to happen. And they already have an existing network. A lot of these newspapers are from the UK. They're from Russia. They're from Australia. They're like Sky News or from the Daily Mail, BBC. All these people in America think the BBC is legit. They have no clue it's the baloney broadcasting company. They have no idea about that. They have no idea that NPR is nonsense private radio. They don't know that because to them, it fits their worldview because they've been fed this false set of facts for so long that they believe it because it makes them feel good when they believe it. It makes their friends like them when they are anti-racist and when they're feminist and when they're anti-Islamophobic and anti-xenophobic. It's their way that they rise up their social chain. It's because they're in big cities. Most liberals are in big cities. And most conservatives are in rural areas. And so we have a situation where there's geographical differences. And then we have people in cities. And these people in cities are in close proximity to people. And when you're in close proximity to people, you talk to people. And when you do that, you end up getting fake news that flies around. People get rumors. People have large friend groups. Their friend groups will start to control the way you think. If you do not engage in the anti-racism and the feminism, then they will socially exclude you. And this is how you get groupthink. Groupthink is not a problem in the countryside. Absolutely not is it a countryside because people don't associate in large groups of people. This is only a city thing. And this is why most socialists live in big cities. It's because out in the countryside, you can't run the socialism scam. You can't run it. It only works in big cities. And then what happens when you have only mail-in voting? You got a pandemic. You shut everybody off. Everybody's in quarantine. can't even have grandma over for Thanksgiving. You have a situation where the big MSM and big tech, they're going to control the political process because they control what facts you see. And this is the biggest problem with what happened in 2020 with the mail-in election. Now, in Oregon, this isn't anything new. In other states, this is new, but it's still illegal. Everything about vote by mail is illegal. It reduces the times, places, and manners that you can petition the government and speak freely on state property. Because why? Voting in person is an essential action of democracy. Voting by mail is not an essential action of a democracy. That's the essential action of a dictatorship. If you want to stuff ballots, it's way easier when you can just separate the ballot from the envelope. You don't have any sort of tracking numbers. You can't match the envelope to the ballot anymore. And when you do that, you create a system where people can just say, oh, this ballot didn't go through the machine. Then we're going to take a ballot, we're going to fill out Biden, and we're going to put just a ballot on a clean sheet of paper with no folds on it. We're going to put that ballot through, and then you've been disenfranchised. Or, oh, the voter signature didn't match. It's from a district that's in more Republicans than Democrats. So we're just going to throw out a higher percentage of the ballots in a conservative district than we are, or sorry, it's not a district, it's a precinct. In a conservative precinct than it is in a liberal precinct. Then it allows people to cheat by disenfranchising voters. Typically about 1% of the ballots are thrown out, but in some precincts, up to 50% of the ballots are thrown out. Is that because everybody's signature was not right? Probably not. Probably was because the people who counted the ballots were Democrats and most of the people in the district were Republicans, and therefore you throw 50% away and then you end up rigging the elections. That is the problem with these things. That's why you cannot have a digital only voting machine. That's just stupid. That's why you have to have a system where you have a ballot ID. When you get your ballot, you get a ballot ID card. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can throw that ballot ID card away. If you want to check your vote, make sure it was done right, then you can go down to the library or the city hall or the university and you can check that. That's how democracy is supposed to be done. It's supposed to be verified. Democracy isn't just like, oh, we'll just say that that's the way it's supposed to be, and then that's it. Like, we're done. Like, oh yeah, we do mail-in ballots, and supposed to separate the ballot from the signature, and then make them anonymous, right? And then that's all of a sudden magically supposed to make it all work, right? Okay, so then what about the part where you actually have to go and do that thing, right? Oh, and then not only do you have to do it once, you have to do it every election. Every single election, you have to go through the same process. At that point in time, you have X% chance every single time you have an election that fraud will exist. And every single year you have X or Y% chance. Hold on. You have X plus Y% chance, where Y is greater than 1, that people will have figured out how to rig the election on the previous election. Every single year, you have an increased chance of voter fraud because people figure out how to game the system. That's the fundamental problem with what the Democrats have been doing. They don't account for time. They don't account for technology. They don't account for malevolence. They don't account for anything. They're just like, oh yeah, we can just trust the people who are running the elections in these really big cities run by insanely corrupt Democrats that have lots of gangbanging gangs that go around robbing and murdering people, selling meth, heroin, crack, fentanyl, Molly, acid, you name it. They got it all. Don't forget weed too. And then these people get millions of dollars selling drugs in these big cities, down in these slums where most of the poor people live. And then they get connections in the government, typically through some liberal that they were doing cocaine with, or heroin or acid or something. And then they start paying off politicians. That's how it works. And then once you start getting drug people who are paying off politicians, you do not have free and fair elections. At that point in time, you got the cartel who's in bed with Maduro and Smart Logic rigging Dominion system voting machines. That's the way it works. And let's see. So let's go on in this article. I think I tied that together. It was tangential, but that's just kind of my style. I like the flow of thought. Reading on in the article. Quote, look, this is no different than what happens if there's a party down the street and if it keeps everyone awake, end quote, Brown told KG. Obviously, this bitch doesn't live in Eugene, dude. Okay, so let me explain to you how Eugene works. Okay, so we got a mob of ravers and burners. And I used to throw huge raves. And so what we would do is we would mob around with hundreds of people from one place to another. And we would blow it the fuck up. And we would make all kinds of noise. Cops would usually come back once or twice. You know, we were pretty smart about it. Okay, so they come first. And then we'd all hide. We'd get everybody in this room. We'd all be like fucking snorting Molly, doing cocaine, smoking weed, drinking booze. You know, like cops come, they're banging on the door. And they're like, oh, turn out the lights. We're all just sitting in there like blasted as fuck, dude. It's like then you get one person to go on there and they're like, yeah, everybody left. And then the cops leave. And then when everybody comes back out and like start ready to, and then after a couple of hours, we slowly start to turn the music up. Okay. And then the cops will come back and then we'll basically do the same thing again. And then after that, we'll just crank the music up and we'll just leave it like that. And at that point in time, the neighbors are just, they've already called the cops a bunch of times. They didn't do anything. They just give up, dude. That's Oregon. What do neighbors do? Typically, they come over to the party and they try to stick their penis in the women's vaginas. Question mark. They call law enforcement because it's too noisy. And then after they called law enforcement, we throw bricks through their windows and we kick them out of the neighborhood. That's just like it. That's just like that. It's like violation of a noise ordinance. Okay, so obviously this woman is so boring. She's obviously never been to a cool party because that is not how it works. We're loud as fuck. Nobody's got a mask on. People are trying to kiss girls. Everybody's smoking weed. They're all like this close to each other. Like, yeah, man, bro, you check out that broad over there. Yeah, man, we were doing Molly in the bathroom. And damn, bro, she's got some tatties, homie. Reading on in the article, honestly, or quote, honestly, they shouldn't have to. This is about saving lives and it's about protecting our fellow Oregonians. Okay, so I've got a real big question for you. How on earth are you going to save people's lives from COVID by reducing the rate of spread if everybody's going to get COVID? How are you going to do that? You're not. You're not. Everybody's going to do it. All you did was just elongate the time period. You flattened the curve, dude. That's it. That's all you did. You didn't do anything else, dude. The only reason why there's so many deaths is because there are so many people getting COVID right now because we don't have immunity because it's the novel coronavirus that everybody has COVID. It's just like everybody had the flu all at the same time. There's no difference. There's no difference between those two things. The reason why so many people died in 1918 was because everybody had the flu at the same time. No shit. But they didn't die from the flu. They died from pneumonia. They died from bacteria because they didn't have microscopes back then, dude. They didn't know what that shit was. They didn't know how to sanitize. And people are like, oh, it's gonna be 1918 again. Like, dude, you're fucking stupid, dude. We have computers. We have supercomputers. We have top-notch medical facilities. We have ventilators. It has not been a repeat of 1918 because people aren't dying from pneumonia. People are dying from SARS, dude. It's about protecting our fellow Oregonians. You know, that's what every single dictator says. Like, oh no, you got to give up your power because we need to protect the people. We need to help people. And if you don't give up your power, you're killing people. You're the one that's bad. It's the same story. It repeats itself over and over and over again. Like whenever the Muslims started making women wear burqas back in Iran, when there was the Shah of Iran, you'd think that they were some pretty conservative people, right? No. It was one of the most liberal places in the Middle East, Iran. Iran was the bastion of liberalism in the Middle East back then, dude. They were liberals that put on the burqa, dude. And it's because, oh no, you just got to give it up. We're trying to help people. We all need to be equal. So everybody put the burqa on. Then we're all equal, right? These leftist people are fucked up, dude. So earlier this month, Brown announced new restrictions in the state, including limited bars, fuck you, and restaurants, fuck you, take out only and closing indoor and outdoor recreation facilities like gyms, museums, zoos, and outdoors pools, so we can all get fat, so we can increase the risk of us dying from COVID. Because Brown is stupid. Social get-togethers, both indoors and outdoors, are also limited to just 6 people. Actually, we're planning on throwing a rave, actually. Fuck it. Homie's sound system got burnt up in that fire, and they got another sound system, dude. We're gonna... Sorry. Getting a little bit excited here. So Brown called the restrictions, quote unquote, common sense. Right. Obviously, she's never actually read the article Common Sense. Though they've drawn ire from politicians, including Toothy Smith, who will take office in January as chairwoman of Clackamas Board of County Commissioners. Republicans have vowed to host Thanksgiving with as many friends as family as possible. Not just the Republicans, also to the rave people. We also, too, have a large party in the works, too. So if you are listening to this and you are in Oregon, just remember, you don't want to be hit by that 10X. 10X means you got 10 times the chance of any of the other strands. There's 6, hold on, I think there's more than 6 strands of COVID. There was 6 strands of COVID. Maybe there's more now because I know they had some other, like the strand in the minks. And then I think there's another one. So maybe there's 7. But even, let's say there's 7. One of them's a 10X. There's 7 other of them, or there's 6 other of them. So if I get all of them that are not the 10X, that's 6 chances. That's a lot less than 10. I'd much rather do the 6 with the lower chance than have to do the 10X. I don't want to do the 10X. I want to do 6 1Xs because I have a lower probability chance of dying. This isn't common sense. This is science. Kate Brown's an idiot. We got to get her out of office. If you're living here, you're in Oregon, we have to get this woman out of office. She's like Gretchen Whitmer, dude. She's going to end up getting herself kidnapped. All right. moving on to the next one. Here, let me grab these. Let me be a good host. It's going to take a little bit extra time to do this. It's a bear if I do not do this with the, If I do not do this right now while I'm doing this, then I just won't get it done. And that's why the show has not been on recently, is just, it's so much work. I want to do the thumbnail. I love those green screen thumbnails. I think those things are epic. I'm going to get back on top of those. Some point in time again, if you want to get to this, it's github.com/RSS commentary /Cale McCullough. And it's issue 109. You go to issues. Probably going to have to go to the closed out ones. In this next article from Newsweek, Trump touts Newsmax poll showing that 98.9% of viewers saying he shouldn't concede to Biden. Quote, we must prevail, ! End quote. Quote, for the good of our country, we must prevail, ! End quote, sorry. Trump wrote, but Newsmax CEO Christopher Rudy recently said exactly when he thought Trump should concede. And so when you're reading through RSS news feeds, oh yeah, you probably don't know what an RSS news feed is. There are these news feeds. You can get a feed. It's of all the feeds. It's just like Google News or Apple News. They all get their stuff from RSS feeds. All the news is coming out through RSS and Atom. Atom's just some tags in RSS. It's still RSS pretty much. But you'll see in these news feeds that the media organizations are trying to sell you something. They are trying to sell subscriptions and advertising revenue. So you need to be careful when you're reading these feeds to read them in the negative. You need to show what they did not just show you and what it is what is their marketing objective here? Because I didn't understand. I've been reading these feeds for like most of my adult life. I've been a news junkie, used to be addicted to dig.com, never got into Reddit. I'm too old school for that. I just went into the RSS. And I used to be a hardcore liberal. I was a brainwashed leftist radical feminist. And I thought all of this news was legit. I was not aware of their marketing tactics, what was going on in the negative, what they're not showing you. And after I started doing this show and I started really analyzing these news feeds, like almost all day, I realized it's a bunch of marketing bullshit. Like this is right here is meant for one thing, to make money. There's no other they are not putting this out here as a service to you, dude. That's absolutely not true in any way, shape, or form. This is to make money. Maybe the Times of Israel is just trying to push Zionism. They're kind of bullshit sometimes. I like reading their stuff, though. I like Israelis. Okay, so going back to the articles here. So what are they not showing you? Why is this so suspicious? Can anybody think about why this article that just seems so innocuous is a scam? It's a scam because this isn't news. It's not. This is a comment that someone said that's just a comment. It's not, okay, maybe it's news that he said a comment. But the fact that he said this, it isn't news. They're doing it. Why? Because you click on it. Because you read it. Because it says Trump. Because it says Newsmax. Because it says concede election. It's always been a scam with Donald Trump. Not Trump doing it, but the MSM. The MSM has been big time scamming us. They just want you to click on the article. That's why there's so much bullshit about Donald Trump out. It's not because of anything that Donald Trump did. No, actually it is. It's because he was the Apprentice guy. It's because he was a reality TV star. It's because he was well known. When you talk about Donald Trump, people know who you're talking about. That's why he got so much news coverage, is because he's famous. That's why. They're covering this. Why? Because Republicans like Newsmax. This is a scam because the courts are supposed to be the one that decide this. It's not Newsweek that's the elected body that is the Electoral College that determines whether or not Trump or Biden got elected. No. These people just want you to click on the article, and they know you're worried about the thing with Donald Trump. So they're saying, oh, Trump's not conceding. He's trying to do a coup. They're trying to take over the government. He's the Russian asset. It's a scam. They just want you to, this is what they want you to do. They want you to click. It's only here to click on, dude. This is a bunch of bullshit. Nobody cares, man. You did some fake poll. Like, oh, so we did a poll on our website. We had 98% of people click yes on it. Okay, so this is like a legitimate poll? The headline should be illegitimate poll conducted on website with no proof that it was legit said this. That's what the headline should say. But are you going to click on that? You're not going to click on it, dude. Absolutely not are you going to click on it. So, Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, when he was elected governor of Georgia, one of the states that is going through a recount due to election irregularities, Jimmy Carter lost at first, and he sued because he was within a certain percentage of the votes. And in court, he was able to prove that there was gross mismanagement and incompetence in the elections process. And the courts overturned it and installed Jimmy Carter as governor of Georgia, which then led to him becoming president of the United States. This is a president that has sued to overturn an election result due to incompetence in one of the cities that is currently experiencing potential election fraud. So it has happened in the United States. Election fraud is real. It's not unheard of, dude. It happens, especially in big cities. When you have big cities and you got a bunch of African Americans who are in control of a precinct and they hate racist people, they're going to do anything in their power to prevent a racist person from getting in office, or who they think is or perceive as being racist. And that's why they're going after Donald Trump with every single ounce of strength that they can, is because the media said he was racist, because he said he wants to build a wall, because they're brainwashed liberals. They're leftists. They support illegal immigration. They don't want to reduce the amount of immigrants. They want to increase the number of immigrants because they like immigrants and they don't like white people. They're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter that the white population is shrinking. And well, actually, also too, the black population is also shrinking here, as well as the Latino population. All American populations are shrinking. It's not just white people. It's actually all Americans. And so when our numbers shrink, and then you bring on 1 million immigrants per year, over the course of a lifetime, those immigrants will have 2.9 children, and it will turn out to be 120 million more people. When our population shrinks, so our population is shrinking, and then you bring in 120 million more people. Okay, so our population is 330 million, so what's it going to be? 550 million? 550, so 500 million people. When does this stop? When we hit 2 billion? How about 5 billion? How about 10 billion people here? Right? They're like, oh no, It's just 1 million people. It's only 1 million people. Have you ever seen 1 million people before? Do you have any idea how many resources 1 million people use? Do you have any idea how much CO2 and methane gas 1 million people put out in the United States? A lot. A lot. We don't want a larger population. We want a smaller population. If our population's going down, we can't bring in 1 million people because then it's their country and it won't be ours. Even though they're good people, though. I mean, I'm not trying to talk shit. I like Mexicans and like Indians and Amerindians and Chinese and all these people. But I do not like all of a sudden there's half of the people are them and I'm a minority in my own country. That's absolutely not cool. But to these people, that's Nazism. That's neo-Nazi. You're a neo-Nazi. If you want to reduce the immigration numbers from 1 million down to 500,000, you're racist. Now they want to target you. Now they're willing to rig elections to prevent you and your party from being in office so they could boost the immigrant count because most of the immigrants are voting for Democrats. Why on earth would they want to slow down the number of immigrants coming into the country if 2/3 of them are voting for Democrats? Every single year, they get more Democrat voters. Dude, they're foaming at the mouth from that shit. Dude, like, immigrants, yes! You got Joe Biden over there. He's like, He's like groping him. He's like, got some wood and he's sneaking. He's like, hey, girl. How you doing? Creepy Joe. So that's the biggest problem with the polls in the big cities is fundamentally you're going to get a corrupt batch of people. They're going to end up hating the other people. And then they're going to rig the elections because they hate white people. They hate racist people. They hate xenophobic people. And it's because 2/3 of the immigrants vote for their party. If 2/3 of the immigrants voted for Republicans, they'd kick them the fuck out. They wouldn't hesitate. They'd be like, get the fuck out, dude. But no, because 2/3 of them vote for socialism, they're totally cool with that. They're like, yeah, let's just bring in tons of Venezuelans. Get communism going. This is why you got cultural Marxism going on. Cultural Marxism going on all around America with this anti-white racism bullshit. Like my son is he's in homeschool here at the public schools, and he had a health class. I had to pull him out of this health class because the teacher is doing microaggression training, teaching him all about this is the dominant class of people, this is the oppressed class of people, and you're a white person, so you have white privilege. And then because you have white privilege, you need to take into account what these other people are going through, and you need to ask these questions. They do these exercises. Oh, here's the questions that you need to ask to get where this other person is coming from, and then this is how you reduce racism, and then gender identities. Yes, now all the trans children. It's totally okay for you kids to be trans. There's absolutely no health problems. It's not going to cause your entire life to get fucked over and make you kill yourself. Yeah, I went off on that bitch, dude. That shit's fucked up, dude. What the fuck are these people doing teaching our kids anti-racism? He's 12! The kid is fucking 12! He shouldn't even know what a fucking oppressed and a dominant class is. But they gotta get them when they're young, dude. Because that's how you indoctrinate to the universities. That's how you get all of the staff at the universities spitting off this anti-rhetoric, this, what do they call it? Diversity, inclusion, and equity. Fuck these people, dude. Fuck these people. I love trans people. I love gay people. I love black people. I love Asian people. I love purple people, green people, albino people. I even like midgets. And dwarves. But These people, it's like they won't shut up about diversity. It's like every goddamn time I hear from these people, it's like, oh, there's dominant class of people that are oppressing the minorities and them women. You got the privileged white male up there at the top, and he's underpaying all the women. He won't give them equal pay because he's a privileged white male. He's sexist. He's racist. He's xenophobic. He doesn't like Muslims. And at some point in time, you just get fucking sick and tired of hearing about these people because they cause riots. Next thing you know, you got a bunch of black people up in the inner city that are in with gangbangers. Like a large percentage of them selling drugs. Most of the guys don't even work. In a lot of these big cities, up to 45% of the African American males are not working. It's been like this for a long time. Now it's even worse. And so you get a bunch of people that are like, oh, the white man's oppressing me. He's the one that prevented me from finding a job or moving out the ghetto. Why do I have to move out of the ghetto? He's the one that's gentrifying our neighborhoods. And then they start thinking, oh yeah, there's systemic racism. Right. There's just systemic racism everywhere. Like, because they're too lazy to look for a fucking job. And they're like, yeah, that's the reason. The reason why they're not hiring me is because he's a racist white man. He's one of the rich people who's gentrifying our neighborhood. That's why. It can't have anything to do with the fact that I'm a complete fuck up. I got bullshit grades in high school. I never went to college. I never even bothered looking for a job. I sit around selling drugs and making hip hop music. Like, no shit, you're fucking discriminated against, dude. Like, straight, you're a fucking bozo, dude. Like, you have to get good grades. You cannot be disrespectful to the teacher. You have to be a good teammate. You cannot be selling drugs, gangbanging, beating people up, robbing people, and getting locked up. Dude, you can't be doing that shit, dude. That's bullshit. But to them, no, it's perfectly fine. No, it's me that's the problem. It's me because I have white privilege. And so they need to do anything in their power to prevent people like me from being able to be in control. And that's why they rig elections. What else can we throw in on this video? I think we got one other one here. Let me find it real quick so I can throw it on this video. Right down here. Something about Newsmax. All right, next article here from News, Politics, Opinion. What is this one? The Bullshit Yorker. Or the Nonsense Yorker. It says, why Newsmax supports Trump's false voter fraud claims. Okay. How are they false? How are these claims false? How is it false that there was 173,000 ballots in Wayne County that came in overnight, 97% for Joe Biden? That's a very specific fact. That's very specific. I told you the county. I told you the numbers. I told you the day. You could go check it out. Guess what? There's no proof that that's not true. There's no proof that that's not true. The numbers are showing that that's true. Now, some of the stuff that was claimed was not true. That does not mean all of the claims were false, but this is a scam. This is why they're putting it out there. They're not putting it out here because it's true. They don't know if it's true or not. They don't know that. It's supposed to go to court, dude. That's what the courts are for. The judge is the one that determines that's true or not. Not New Yorker or Newsweek. It says Christopher Rudy, the conservative network CEO, says president's lies are, quote, great for news, end quote. That's exactly why they printed this article. It's because it's great for news. Guess what? New Yorker also puts out news. It's great for New Yorker. That's why they're putting this ad out. These people are fucking hypocrites, dude. Fucking hypocrites, man. Here, let me grab the... Sorry, I have to like finish the where's the thing? Sorry. I got to put up that link for you. I know it's a pain in the butt to have to do it on camera, but it's too much work to do it off camera. If you want them, I have to do it now. Wait a minute. Apologize. This is taking so long. It'll give me a chance to calm down. I was a little bit raucous there. All right. This allows us to make sure the facts are correct. I'm not down with fake news. Although, you know, I will admit I've messed up. I've said some stuff that wasn't legit. I have gone back and corrected myself. I'm not really down with saying false shit. So if you ever find anything, go and fix it for me. I'll make sure that everybody knows what the mistake was. Okay, where are we at? This next article from Newsweek says, quote, free speech and, quote, social network Parlor allegedly censoring hashtag write in Trump for GA. Social network Parlor has allegedly hidden posts on its websites that are tagged as write in for Trump GA. Oh, sorry. I should have said this is from Fake News Week. Wait, here. I'm going to actually redo this because in this next article from Fake News Week, quote, free speech and, quote, social network Parlor allegedly censored hashtag write in Trump for GA. The social network has allegedly been hiding posts on its website that are tagged as hashtag write in Trump for Georgia. Wow. We should be able to verify that one pretty quick. Let's go over and look up Parlor. If you want to find me on Parlor, you can find me on RSS Commentary. Brand new Parlor account. Have hardly any tweets. So let's check this claim out that they were hiding the hashtag. Oh, no additional hashtags. Oh, so it's fake news. Well, wouldn't be the first fake news that we've come across on this episode so far today. Whoa, I don't have the suit. Sorry. Apologize. I'm not sure how this happened. Wasn't supposed to be there. All right. So I I mean honestly, if it wasn't for Newsweek and Daily Mail, I would not be able to find enough fake news to actually do this show. So I can't hate on Newsweek too much for being absolute fake news garbage, but it's really annoying. It's like I personally enjoy doing the show, but I don't really want to do the show. I'm only doing the show because there's so much fake news out. And most people have no science skills or journalist skills. They don't know how to like do fact checking. I'm a programmer. So when you tell me a fact, I'm like, oh, f of x. Y equals f of x. Oh, what was that? Oh, what was x? Oh, there's y. Oh, yeah, fake news. Once you start looking at the inputs and the outputs and what the function was, you start to see that Newsweek is pretty fake. It's egregiously fake. They're a tabloid. These people are not reputable in any way, shape, or form. They are they say they're independent. Go read the stuff on their opinion columns. Okay. So you got to understand, right? The opinion columns are like letters to the editors. Can't really get away with news without them. But what you're going to notice when you start to analyze fake Newsweek is they really are pro-China. They are very much so pro-China. And you have to wonder where they're getting their money from, because there is so much pro-China stuff on there that it is insanely suspicious. So who was the former owners at one point in time? Didn't Washington Post own fake Newsweek? Okay, so the chain of custody didn't look super suspicious for Newsweek. It didn't. So hold on. Who used to be their owner? Let's go look real quick at Newsweek. Vast majority of people don't look at the source. They don't look at the history of it. Yeah, it used to be a WAPO company. 1961 was under ownership until 2010. Between 2008 and 2010, Newsweek experienced financial difficulties. And then they transitioned to all digital format in 2012. Print edition relaunched in 2014 under different ownership. Revenue declines prompted in August 2014 sale from WAPO to Sydney Harmon, audio pioneer. Yeah, she did Harman gear. I never bought any of their stuff. I'm an audio engineer and I saw their stuff, but they're like, aren't they owned by Behringer now or something? I mean, these people don't strike me as very suspicious. Newsweek worked with the opinion of Daily Beast. Yeah, that would probably be why these people are so sketchy. It's a left. Okay, so this is the scam. This is a scam. Let's go back. You have to read through the lines. I didn't even notice this at first. I didn't notice this. So they say independent. Company is independent, and then left. Do they say left? What was this in Leftover Women? A leftover woman is a woman who didn't get married. She's like 30 and then she's like regretting not getting married. And if you do know any women who are in that situation, if they are leftover, I am single. Yes. Hey man, you'd do it if you were me too. Sorry. What was that thing? Let's look at 44. What was 44? Cover of Newsweek featured an article that said, quote, women weren't married until they're 40 had a better chance of being killed by a terrorist than finding a husband. Allegations of sexism is what this title or section is. How is that sexist? How is that sexist? You're like, oh, it's sexist because the men aren't liking me because I'm 30 and I'm not as attractive as the younger women and I can't have babies anymore. That's sexist. See, I don't get that because like equal treatment would mean that like you treat men like you do women. And if that was true, we would be able to punch women when they cross us. And we would be allowed to yell at them like we do with the other guys and get into fights with them. And then I wouldn't want to have sex with them because I'm not gay. I'm not bi. And not like I just don't have a gay bone in my body. It's just not me. So me personally, if you want to say equal treatment, you're going to have to treat the leftover women like you treat the men. And they're sitting here saying, oh, the guys are bringing up how we're leftover women. This is sexist. If that's how you treat people, please, please, please do not come around me. Honestly, this is so fucking annoying. I can't stand this sexism bullshit. The fact is that women are greater than or equal to one person because women can have babies. A man cannot have a baby. A man is one person. A woman is greater than one person. Can be two, can be three, can be four, might even be 10. Therefore, the woman is more valuable than the man, and the man is going to work hard in their 20s so they can put themselves in a good position in their 30s so they can get a good-looking woman in their 20s. So they could afford to have a house and a kid and pay for their education and healthcare and food and everything else. It's very expensive. People in their 20s usually can't afford it, dude. Guys in their 30s, much more able to afford it. This isn't equal treatment, dude. You got a bunch of older dudes with money who are coming and paying for stuff because women have an advantage. Women can have babies. Having babies is an advantage. That's an advantage men don't have. Men are never going to get treated like they can have babies because they can't. This is why feminism is stupid, dude. It's like, first off, women get treated really well. Men don't get treated that well. Women are like, you're not treating me equally. Everybody treats me like shit. Moment I start treating you like shit, you're saying you're a misogynist. Shut up! In this next batshit story crazy... Oh, hold on. Sorry. Oops. I'm chopping up the videos. I messed up. In this next batshit crazy story from Crazyland, from the New York Post, Michigan professor put on leave for calling COVID-19 a, quote, leftist stunt, end quote. Quote, I have just to speak out to try to speak my conscious. I can't be silent and watch this happen, end quote. Ferris State University's physical science professor Thomas Brennan told the station WZZM. Did you know the New York Post is the world's or the country's oldest newspaper? Founded by Alexander Hamilton. I thought that's amazing. Totally gives me respect for this paper. Actually, it's like a less tabloid version of Daily Mail. Although some, I've definitely blasted them for fake news. Definitely blasted. Most of this summer, I've been blasting them. But you know what? I still like reading their stuff. A Michigan professor has been placed. Sorry. So what did they said the messages online, they were deemed racist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic. Ferris University physical science professor Thomas Brennan defended the post in which he used racist slurs, claimed the health crisis was intended to create a leftist New World Order, and quote, news station WZZM reported, quote, I have just to speak out to try to speak my consciousness. I can't be silent and watch this happen, Brennan told the news station. In tweets filed first reported by the student newspaper The Torch, Brennan claims the virus was actually a stunt. Well, there's good reason to believe that. Actually, let's look up China fumigation COVID. So look at this. So these things, everybody remembers these. You can't forget these, right? Okay, do you have to do that? You remember these scenes with the guys with the fumigators, right? So supposedly this is a brand new virus, okay? Like they don't know anything about this virus. They don't know how to kill it. They don't know how it's spreading. They don't know anything about it. It's brand new. What are they doing with these fumigators, dude? You have to ask yourself, seriously ask yourself the question, did China stage this entire thing? Because what are these fumigators for? What do these fumigators have in them? How do they know these fumigation machines will stop COVID? They don't. They don't. 100% they do not know how that would stop COVID. This is a manufactured scene. This scene was created by the Chinese quote-unquote Communist Party. They are a spitting image of National Socialism. Do not believe they're communist. Do not even believe for a moment these people are communists. Under communism, you can't own private property. Private property and communism, mutually exclusive. Look it up, mutually exclusive. Impossible to own private property under communism. The only way that you're allowed to own private property under communism is in National Socialism. That's what National Socialism means. It means you have private property. It means you can own a business, but the business belongs to the government. You're just running it, and whenever they want to take it, they'll take it. That's exactly what the Chinese do. Not only that, Chinese government has hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside. Most of them are really old people. They're living in squalor out in farms, like working in rice paddies. Like nobody would ever want to work and do what they're doing. It's like weird. And then the kids go to the cities. And so the people in the cities, they're not living the bad life like the farmers. They're living high on the hog. So you got the city people, rich as piss. Then you got the people out in the country, poor as shit. That's called far right because they have millions of Muslims in concentration camps, the Uyghur Muslims and other denominations of Muslims. That's called National Socialism, dude. So the Chinese Nazi Party staged these scenes, and there's two theories. And if there are more, if you could comment on RSS commentary, issue 109. One theory is that, hold on. Oh, one theory is that they intentionally released the virus because they were, China is attempting to be the world's number one superpower. Chinese Nazi Party is, or the quote unquote Communist Party in China is losing power. A large percentage of people in the Communist Party know the time is nigh, and that's because capitalism is rampant. They got people on the side of the roads in China selling stuff. They got people out in the countryside selling stuff because capitalism works better in, or hold on, socialism only works in the big cities where there's enough people to perpetrate the socialist scam. They need to have enough people to rip off who aren't in the city in order to keep the socialist scam alive, because socialism doesn't work. Because if you don't work and you're not getting a profit from it, you don't generate any sort of value, because the value was the profit. So the theories are that the Chinese government intentionally circulated the virus. They sent people around the world with the virus in order to spread it. And that's why it spread so fast. And that these scenes were meant in order to drum up fear. And that fear was intended to cause an economic collapse. That economic collapse was intended to cause riots, such as the Democrat race riots stemming from the George Floyd race riots, and the Black Lives Matter Antifa Nazis, or the Blaman, and that they were basically withholding information from us of the COVID. Well, they did withhold information. So the other theory is that they just bungled it up and that they're trying to protect their world image because so many businesses they're in business with so many different businesses that they rely on the network. There is good reason to think that. But the problem is that the Chinese Nazi Party is losing power. This is why China is invading the South China Seas. South China Seas is, if you're unaware of what's going on, they made an artificial island. About $4 trillion worth of global trade flows through the South China Sea. And this is why they're controlling it militarily. So in order for them to stay in power, they have to do something very big right now. Like they have to expand China. They have to make China bigger. This is what the Nazis did. I figured all this shit out studying Adolf Hitler, okay? Studying what he did and their end goal. And what you must understand about Adolf Hitler and the Nazis is why they did it. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis invaded Europe so that they could become the size of the United States or Russia. No other reason, absolutely zero other reasons other than they needed to compete with Russia and America. Those were the two global powers, and the Russians were killing people. They were called the Reds, and they committed what is called the Holodomor famine massacre. Or famine genocide. Holodomor genocide, famine genocide. So this was when the Reds starved upwards to 12 million Ukrainians. It's probably like 7 or 8 million Ukrainians starving to death. This was in 1933. This is why World War II happened. Vast majority of people are completely clueless. They have no clue why any of this stuff happened. No clue. They have no clue that Adolf Hitler worked with Joseph Stalin. Nazis were not enemies of the communists. Nazis and communists were enemies of capitalists. Their enemy was capitalism. So the Reds killed all these people, and this is why they locked the Jews up. That's why they killed the Jews, was because they didn't want their people to be starved. They didn't want the same fate to happen to them. It doesn't justify it. Still horrible. Nothing justifies that. But at that point in time, it wasn't about politics. That wasn't about National Socialism. It's like, how many people blame communists for what the USSR and China did? Like, they killed over 100 million people. There was they killed 6 million Jews, and then they were half the people killed in the concentration camp. There was 12 million people killed. 6 million people were political enemies, and then there's 100 million people that died in that war total, and that includes infections and stuff that wasn't related to the war. And so. But then you've got the USSR that had the gulags, and then you got the Chinese Communist Party also had the gulags. They were murdering people out. It's socialist punk scum from the city. Happened in USSR and in China. Historically, rural countrysides are heavily capitalist, and it's because out in the countryside, there's not enough people to run the socialist scam. You need to have enough people in the city and enough people that you can rob in order to make the socialist scam work. That's how socialism works, is by robbing, killing, cheating, and pillaging. So nobody blames communists, like some hippie who's a communist. Nobody's going to blame that person for the USSR or China, but somehow they blame any sort of National Socialist for everything that Nazis did, which, I mean, the Nazis is not the same as National Socialists. Nazi is actually like the German one, because it was, you know, socialist doesn't start with a Z, remember? So National Socialist is kind of like a communist. Not all National Socialists are anti-Semitic, actually. Not all National Socialism is like communism, where you can own private property, and but the government owns the business, and it doesn't have anything to do with anti-Semitism. It's a form of government. The Nazis were anti-Semitic. They based it off anti-Semitism. But what they said was, instead of having white supremacy, because Germans didn't own slaves, most people don't know this, Germany was not anti-Semitic or racist before World War II broke out. They were the least racist place, and they were the least anti-Semitic in Europe. They then started to believe in conspiracy theories, a large part of it because of the Holodomor massacre. Doesn't justify anything of what they did, but it does humanize it. It puts a human face on it. It wasn't that the Nazis were just bad people and they did that because they were bad people. They were good people who went down a slippery slope, and then they gassed the Jews. So what does this have to do with this? So these people, Chinese people, they're National Socialists now. This is what National Socialism looks like. And they have to, in order to keep this scam going, because the capitalists are winning everywhere. Capitalism always wins because it's the best. The only way that they can keep the Chinese quote-unquote Communist Party in power is to expand China's influence and to make the Chinese people's lives better than everyone else's. Then they can say, we're doing good for you. This is the problem. This is the biggest problem, is Chinese Nazi Party had every motivation to do this because they're losing power. Wuhan was where that virology lab that studied coronaviruses was, dude. Duh. They're saying they didn't know. We didn't have anything to do with releasing it. It wasn't, what didn't come from us. Like, yeah, right. Like I'm going to believe you. Like, oh no, I didn't commit the bank robbery. I'm not the bank robber. No. Why would I be the bank robber? Oh no, then you'd have to arrest me. Let's get back to this. So, the COVID professor. So there is good reason to believe that this is a leftist stunt. There is good reason to believe that this is a leftist takeover. And it's because the Chinese Nazi Party, they're not leftist. Chinese are anything but leftist, dude. If Chinese were leftist, why the hell do they have millions of Uyghur Muslims in the concentration camps? Why do they have hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside with filthy, stinking rich Chinese in the big cities? If they're leftist, leftists share everything. Communism, community control. We all share everything. We all own everything together. You can't have a rich person in a communist society. It's not possible. In tweets first reported by the student, hold on. Quote, guess what you're reading on in the article, sorry. Quote, guess what, your COVID stunt has failed. You won't get your leftist new order. And quote, Brennan wrote, the Torch reported. In other tweets, Brennan referred to the Holocaust as a Zionist eugenics program. Never heard that one before. I'm more interested in hearing why he would say that's a yeah. So yeah, they were into eugenics. So you must ask yourself, Are there Christians that wish that there were other Christians out there that would die because they're fat and ugly? Well, of course. Yeah, there are a lot of Christians that are into eugenics. I personally don't think eugenics is a good thing because nature is vastly superior to anything that we could do with genetics. Like, come on, man. Like, we got the world's most powerful supercomputer on our head. We walk upright. We got access to supercomputers on our smartphones in our pocket, dude. Like, that came from genetics that nature created. So, but I've tried to argue very specifically against eugenics on the internet vehemently. And I've argued with a lot of people about it. And as it turns out, there's different kinds of eugenics. Not every eugenics is like sterilization. Some of them are where women will treat men as beta males. For instance, that's called eugenics. Actually, when a woman treats like only will date the best people up at the top, that's called eugenics. Because it's in nature, they would just mate out in the open. You're not trying to get like the most alpha male dude with the most money, like the women do here. That's a human thing, and that's actually eugenics. So not all eugenics is actually like sterilization and murder, but I wouldn't, I don't believe so. Well, hold on. The evidence for this is in Karl Marx. Actually, Karl Marx was born a Jew, but he was anti-Semitic. Now, this is funny because Adolf Hitler swore up and down this guy is fucking hardcore Jewish. He just thought this guy has to be Jew because of he was born a Jew, so then he has to be a Jew. It wasn't true, dude. Karl Marx was anti-Semitic, dude. He was an anti-Semitic Jew. There was actually a lot of anti-Semitic Jews. And the reason for that, I've studied this in great detail. The reason for that is because Jews grew up very wealthy during that period of time. They had a lot of luxury, and it's because they had been so oppressed for so long. Everybody, people just had it out for those people, dude. I feel bad for those people. Dude, they're like, if you study their history, it's like nonstop. It's like one person after the other trying to kill these people, dude. That's why they're so smart right now. It's because so many people have been trying to kill them all throughout their history that they just become brilliant, which is why I support them. But the Jews, well, hold on. Karl Marx, he everything that Hitler talks shit about Jews. Hitler went off about Karl Marx, but Karl Marx would say the same thing. I just think that's so ironic. So, quote, last sentence here says, well, I guess it's not the last one, huh? Says, quote, the other one says, quote, they killed the old and weak Jews and they sent the young and strong ones to, what did this even say? This is such fake news. What is this This doesn't resemble the article that I'm reading. This does not. This is so irritating, man. This is fake news. When I'm reading through this and I read this article, I'm supposed to click here. Yes, this is the story. When I click on this is what I'm buying, it's supposed to resemble this story. No, this is standard. It's nothing new. They can't tell you the whole story. If they said he was saying anti-Semitic things, then you would not click on it. You'd be like, oh, somebody said something anti-Semitic. I heard the whole story. Very few people would care what he actually said. The story is he said some anti-Semitic. I don't know if this is anti-Semitic, dude. Let's read further on it. Is it anti-Semitic? So they killed the old and weak Jews. They sent young and strong ones to Israel, and then they blamed it on everyone else, he wrote on Twitter. Back in that particular time period, some of the worst eugenics supporters were Jews. Jews were avid endorsers of genocide in World War II. They definitely were not completely innocent. They had a hand in their own fate. The kids were innocent, but the adults in that period of time were there were two factions of people. There were the communists, and then there was the National Socialists, and then the Jewish people were with the communists, and they would mainly only share with Jewish people, and so this is where they got the stereotype of being greedy. Well, actually, it's been going on for a while, but I wouldn't put it past them. At that point, you have to understand what was going on at this point in time. At this point in time in history, Darwin was still the hot shit. They believed in this thing called social Darwinism. Social Darwinism is basically, it's like they think that like society has like dominant and it's like they took Darwin's concept and then they applied it, went down hundreds of years. What's going to happen? There's going to be certain groups of people that are going to have a higher birth rate than others. And then the Germans are going to have a lower birth rate because they've been in wars. When you have wars in your country, you end up lowering your birth rate. And so this is why the Nazis invaded the other land, is because they needed to grow. They needed to be able to compete with Russia because the Russians were killing people. They did that Holodomor famine genocide in Ukraine in 1933, killed from 3 to 12 million people. I think it was more like 7 to 8 million people from what I've read. And they were on that side. It was that they were on that side. And also, they also were very much so racist. They were obsessed with what is called, quote unquote, I'm not trying to say this because it's just a word that they used. It's called negrification. And they were obsessed with it. Basically, they looked at birth rates, and it's true. What they said is what they were worried about actually is true. When you have your country's birth rate is less than 2.1 children per woman, your population goes down because there's a man, there's a woman. In order to keep your population up, woman needs to have 2 kids, right? Not very difficult to understand. And then you have people who are in like Muslim countries. They end up having 5 or 6 kids. I mean, it does not take a genius to figure out that the Muslims are going to take over the world. It doesn't take a fucking genius to do that. No, it's very obvious. If Africans are having 5 kids per people and we are having 1.8 kids per people, our people are going to disappear and Africans are going to control the world. That's what they're freaked out about. It was true. It was legit. But then they overreacted and then they turned into Nazis and started killing people. And then that was where they're monsters. What does this have to do with the article? So, but during that period of time, the Jews were very much so hated black people. They were the worst people. The Nazis were not the ones who were obsessed with negrification. It was absolutely was the Jews, and then the people who were not Germanic. The Jewish people were not Germanic. Jewish people, or Germans, never owned slaves. They were never a slaving-owning society. And this is why Berlin, before the outbreak of World War II, was the most racially tolerant city in the world. Germans also, too, weren't anti-Semitic. But then all of a sudden, you get a flood of people. And then what ended up happening was the Jews are brilliant people. They're like geniuses. And so ended up being their 5% of the population. And then they ended up being 25% of the doctors and lawyers. And that's what they're freaking out of. That's what they freaked out about. That's why they went from not anti-Semitic to anti-Semitic. It's because they started getting into conspiracy theories of Jews controlling the world, which you need to shun. We can't be tolerating the Jews control the world theories, but in my mind's eye, that's where anti-Semitism ends. They want to say anytime you criticize Judaism or Jews, that you're anti-Semitic. This is a logical fallacy. There's no truth to it. The truth is that anti-Semitism comes from conspiracy theories of Jews controlling the world and taking over your country. This is why they're saying that the Unite the Right thing was far right, which it wasn't. There was some far right people there, but it was a group of people that were against mass immigration. It wasn't even, they didn't even hate immigrants. It was a group of people that were like normal Republicans, and then some neo-Nazis showed up, and then they did the tiki torch thing, and then that dude hit Heather Heyer. And really, in the grand scheme of things, really, it's a nothing burger. It's nothing burger. It's like, okay, so some guy got pissed off, he got road rage, and he hit somebody. What's new, dude? How many people who aren't racist or sexist, or how many leftists commit road rage? How many leftists have driven cars into conservatives, into Trump booths that are selling Trump merchandise? People do that shit, dude. And they're like, well, I mean, they chanted that blood and soil thing, and yeah, there's some elements of that are kind of like, okay, yeah, that's kind of the same story in Nazi Germany, but it's not. It's not really, it's not the same story. It's not. Why? Because back then people didn't even have electricity in their house, dude. They didn't have the internet. They didn't know what a computer was. They didn't know anything about feminism. Feminism didn't exist back then, but most people don't know it was actually the fascists who actually gave women voting rights. Fascists were actually first wave feminists. Most people aren't aware of that, but that's how they became popular. That's why people liked them, is because they were leftist. They were all about equality back then. They went from leftist to far right when they couldn't get their way. That's the way it always goes. And the far left always turns into the far right when they can't get their way, when they can't get their leftist egalitarian fantasy land. They say the only way we're going to have it is if we kill the people who are stopping us from having it. And then that's how you get gulags, man. That's how you get concentration camps, gas chambers, man. Here's another tweet from Thomas Brennan. He says, nobody wants to vote for Joe Biden imagines anything at this point. Those are zombie. And then it says N, which we're presuming is the word that the African Americans call each other. No reason to consider their ideas. This does not resemble this in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't. Michigan put on leave for calling COVID-19 a leftist stunt. Really? I don't know about you. I'm not stupid. This guy got suspended for posting the N-word and going on anti-Semitic rants. Hold on. These aren't anti-Semitic. Are there? Hold on. Where's the Jews control the world thing? Saying the Holocaust was a Zionist eugenics program. Borderline, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no on that, because Jews were into eugenics. Jews were all about slaughtering people, committing genocide. They were all about it, dude. They wanted Jews to control the world. They did. They did actually want that. That was actually they actually wanted to control everything. It was actually true. Because every group of people wants to control everything, dude. And so they killed the weak, and the only one sent them to Israel. Yeah. Then they blamed it on everyone else. It's a conspiracy. It's borderline. We're going to say he's dropping N-words. We're going to say, yeah. I don't think that this guy should be suspended. I personally think that if this guy is a good teacher, that's all that matters. If his students feel uncomfortable, then that's them. It's not his duty to make you feel comfortable. If you're a whiny little bitch, then you need to get the fuck out.
What's this other one say? It says, I wasn't worried about coronavirus because they knew they would just be unleashing the same stuff they've been experimenting, targeting on individuals like me. It hasn't killed me yet, so I'm figuring it wouldn't kill most, but it could kill most of them. Nanotech, N-word, probably the word that the African Americans call each other. So obviously he was suspended because he used the N-word. I'm not sure whether or not, I mean, it's free speech, dude. There's definitely free speech laws. It says you cannot make laws that abridge free speech. Now, there's various laws with employers with the government where they don't have to tolerate free speech because they're your employer. I do believe that in this situation, he's a professor. He's hired in order to engage in free speech, and he does have free speech. He does. By law, he is allowed to get away with saying whatever he wants in the classroom because he's a teacher. He's allowed to. That's his free speech. It is. So this, I'm going to say, this school should be sued. They should not be allowed to do this because this is institutionalized anti-racism. They're saying there's systemic racism. No, there's systemic anti-racism. And anti-racism is bullshit because it's free speech. You are not the thought police. It is none your business who I like and who I don't like. If I do not want to associate with Black people or Latinos, that's my thing. I personally like them. Have some friends coming over tomorrow too, or going over to his house, you know? So that's not me, but me personally, I'm not going to judge you based on who you don't like. I'm going to judge you based on who you get along with. Do you get along with me? Do you get along with my friends? Okay. Would you, as a man, let's see. Now, let's take this image. All right, these women right here. So let's make a thought experiment. So let's pick the best looking one out of here. For me, I would probably say this woman. Okay, so let's say this woman is really racist. Would you fuck her? Let's say you're a black dude. Any black guys out there? Would you fuck the racist chick? Yeah, you would. Yeah, every single black guy's like, hell yeah, hell yeah. That's the mentality you should have with racist people. It's like, okay, this woman's a crazy bitch. How annoying is she? All right, okay, she's racist. Okay, still want to fuck her. I'll put up with you. All right, is she funny? Does she like my friends? Do my friends like her? All right, this is a reasonable conversation. There's nothing about the fact that this woman is racist that would make me not want to have sex with her. I can see some boobs that I would like to stick in my mouth, put my hands on, and a coochie that I would like to stick my penis into. And the fact that she's racist is really just neither here nor there. If she has cool friends that I like, I'll tolerate it. If she's a crazy bitch, I'm not going to tap that shit, dude. Well, hold on. I might tap it and then like bounce out while she's still sleeping. But the point still stands that the black guys definitely would be tapping that ass. They'd be all over it. They'd be like, yeah, I fucked a racist white chick. Yeah. And then it's funny. See, you want to get rid of racism, dude. Replace it with humor. honestly, people love humor, dude. People like really. Let's see. So that's it for this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can check us out at rsscommentary.com, where you can find episodes of the show. Right. Yeah. Website's up. All right. Then you can check out our videos. Pretty soon, you'll be able to put in the issue number. So you'll be able to do RSS commentary /109 for the show. I'm just kind of swamped. And then it'll go to YouTube or... and then we're on multiple platforms. The reason why I'm doing the stuff in GitHub for the fact checking is because we're on multiple platforms. I have to tell you to go somewhere, right? So we're on GitHub because we're got an open source app that is going to be coming out maybe next year or something that will do whatever. I'm replacing this RSS feeder. It's kind of going to be kind of like a Tatum report. What else is there in here? Yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe, rate, and best way you could support this channel is by sharing this video on social media. In this next article from the Daily Mail, Governor Cuomo, Bromo's brother, disinvited his 89-year-old mother from Thanksgiving after being called a hypocrite? What a piece of shit! No, sorry, Grandma. You can't be around our family because you're an infection vector. Because you're in the nursing home where all the other COVID people are. So instead of just letting you die we're not going to invite you over to our house to reduce the contact that you have with COVID at the nursing home. We're just going to let you die alone in the nursing home. Right. Because you're just such a good son. Cuomo was slammed after letting slip during a radio interview that he'd invited his 89-year-old mother, Matilda, to have dinner with him and his two of his three daughters. And this is after he's telling everybody else don't have any people over. What a hypocrite. I mean, he is a hypocrite, but I would tell everybody, fuck off, dude. My mom is coming and you can kiss my ass. So let's see. Monday night, he phoned his mother, Matilda, to say he could not celebrate the holiday together. Said she doesn't understand, and then phoned him again Tuesday morning about it. Cuomo said on Tuesday the dinner would have been safe because it was only for 4 people, which was in the rule of no more than 10 people gathering. Wait a minute. What a coward. All these Democrats are like this, dude. They're all little punk bitches, dude. They all are cowards like this. They will all do that shit to you. The moment you start pointing a finger like, you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic, you're a hypocrite, then they all cow down because they don't want to be seen as the one person. The entire point of why they're the liberal, why they're in this scene is because people look up to them, dude. Do you think they'd be doing it if people look down to them? No, of course not. Of course they're only doing it because people look up to them. That's why they're doing it. They're not doing it for any other reason other than themselves. Why do you think Bromo's brother is doing this? Bromo is the CNN anchor, Cuomo's brother. He's doing it because he wants people to vote for him. No other reason. He's not doing it to save his mother. He's not doing it to save anybody's life. He's doing it because somebody called him a hypocrite and he doesn't have a spine. This guy's always been like that, dude. He's a scumbag. Well, that's the one good thing about Donald Trump if he loses this bid to call out the election fraud, or if it wasn't real, I mean, I'm not saying that it's 100% legit. I personally think there's enough voter fraud to justify a third-party audit by the Justice Department. So whatever their audit was conducted by state, local officials. I don't think that they, at this point in time, we need to have a robust combing through. Like, we need to pick through with a fine-tooth comb, and we need to figure out what laws. See, the voter fraud stuff is not as much of a winning argument as the procedure that happened. This is something lawyers, I personally represented myself in court for a really nightmarish child custody thing. So I learned a lot about court. I learned a lot about presenting arguments. I learned a lot about what arguments to not present. And the one thing, the one takeaway that burned me so bad to this day, I think about it all the time. And the lesson is just internalized constantly, is that you cannot have a shotgun spread strategy in a courtroom, dude. No, or you can have a shotgun spread strategy to get into the courtroom. You cannot have a shotgun spread strategy when you're in the courtroom, okay? And the reason why is because some arguments are very valid. Some of them are kind of iffy. Maybe it's a good point. But if you sit there in court and you say, well, there was this one thing, and if it wasn't that, then there was this other thing, and if it wasn't that, then it was this thing. If it wasn't that, it was this thing. The person's going to sit there and say, you don't have a case. That's what happened to me. It's tragic when you lose and your kid gets taken away. So that's why I think about it all the time. It's because in business, you also get this same thing happening when you do this shotgun spread strategy with your startup. It's caused me a lot of pain. I'm still not making any money. That's why I'm on YouTube. But you have to limit your arguments to the ones that are going to win, your best ones, even if the other ones could win and your main one might not. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with people that are going to be sitting there looking at you like, they're going to get mad at you. So they're going to be like scratching their head like, what's up with this dude? Trying to gauge you, and then the moment you do anything to piss them off, or the moment you start saying false facts, is the moment you lose reputability with these people. This is why Sydney Watson was so devastating to this voter fraud case, because she was going into the crackpot land where she didn't have evidence. She's a good attorney. I don't have anything bad to say about her history as an attorney. She has a very good history, but she bozoed that. Like, that was was that? No, it's not Sydney Powell. Sydney Watson is actually, she's badass, dude. If you don't know Sydney Watson, she's great. Look her up on YouTube. Sydney Powell, right? Sydney Powell, right? Yeah. This one. So, hope of sad QAnon supporters. I'm so tired of this shit. I mean, this is just garbage news. Like, really, this is what you would call blue meat to the base. That's exactly what this is. This is here to click on. They want people who hate Donald Trump to be like, see, they're crazy, they're conspiracy quacks, they're QAnon. And they want to just completely discount QAnon as if there's no pedophiles in the entire world that work for the United States government, and that there's no drug cartels and no human smuggling networks. And that there is not Bohemian Grove. If you don't know what Bohemian Grove is, it's a place where they do ritual human sacrifice. So they got this owl god. It's actually real. It's not crazy at all, actually. It's definitely been proven that this exists. Here's the pictures of the owl god. And there's Nixon and Reagan. Yeah. Nixon and Reagan were members. I mean, here's pictures of them there. Is Biden in there? Business Insider is not a legit source. This is legit. So Bohemian Grove, this is real. Not only is it real, they also did ritual child sacrifice. It was mock child sacrifice. I think they stopped sacrificing children at some point in time. And not only that, Jeffrey Epstein's madame, the rapey dom chick, Ghislaine Maxwell, the one that was the real rapist, the real sex trafficker. Epstein was the John. He was the dude with the money. They were fucking for money. Ghislaine Maxwell was the one who was into the blackmail hooker scandals and having sex with teenagers. She was the bad apple. If you want to see more about this, I made a really good Epstein video. Actually, it's in the feed. The ones before, the older ones, I'm going to delete those. They're just not that good. I think I was too callous. I was slut shaming, and I apologize for that. When people have been victim of a sex trafficking, even if they're sex trafficking themselves, which is what was the case in the Epstein circle, with the exception of Ghislaine Maxwell, it definitely looks like she was sex trafficking. Does not look like Epstein was sex trafficking. It looks like it was a referral network where one person was referred to another. One woman would do a massage and have sex with them, and then she'd refer another woman, and then that woman would come and give a massage, and then she would get a cut. And so the women were actually the sex traffickers. But Ghislaine Maxwell definitely appears to be a sex trafficker. So Ghislaine's father was involved, according to Alex Jones. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was a part of this Bohemian Grove scandal, and they did a hooker ring with blackmails. So it's just like the Epstein thing. So this is the QAnon thing. Actually, supposedly the people that they tracked down that they said was Q was like some dude in like Indonesia or the Philippines or something. I don't know enough about that. All I'm going off is the statistical likelihood where there's one, like, look at what percent people are pedophiles. Just look this up. What? That's creepy. Estimated to be lower than 5% of adult men. Wow. Woo! That's creepy as a mug, dog. Woo! Damn. Really? Like up to 5% of people are pedos? 1 in 20? You mean every single time I go to a party, there's a bunch of pedos there? Woo! And when they say pedo, and they're talking on here, they're talking about like a medical definition of a pedo, which is according to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is the Bible of mental disorders, that pedophilia is 13 and younger. So when they're saying this, they're saying 13 years old and younger here. Woo! Damn! So the statistical likelihood that there's not groups of pedos that work for the government that are high up is almost zero. It's almost zero because 1 in 20 of these people are pedos. I personally think that Biden might have engaged in some of this behavior because he is Biden. The reason why I believe that is because Biden was the groper. He's known as the groper, the White House groper. No, the streaking White House groper. So when he was in the Obama administration, living in the White House, he would walk around the White House naked and he would grope women. One particular instance, a Secret Service agent had to be restrained from attacking Joe the Groper Biden after China Joe groped his girlfriend at a White House event right in front of him. That is who the leftists just put in the Oval Office, streaking groper Biden. China Joe, the dude whose crackhead son gets millions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party. That's pretty fucking sketchy, dude. That's as sketchy as it gets. Obama's sketchy as it gets, too. That dude, don't even think for a minute that guy's not sketchy, dude. I even worked to help him get elected. Twice. Trust me, that dude's sketchy as it gets, bro. Sketchy as it gets. Everything that I found out about him, that dude absolutely is not black. No way, shape, or form. He's a white guy, dude. I mean, his skin's not white. He's whiter than a cracker, bro. Whiter than a cracker. So what about this? A little bit tangential. So Sidney Powell's beacon of hope. Sorry, went off a little tangent there. What does this have to do about Cuomo? I don't think it has anything to do with Cuomo. All right, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget the best way to support the channel is to share this video on social media. Don't forget also, too, they'll be chopped up. If you want to find the clips individually, you can go to RSS commentary on YouTube. This next article from the Daily Mail, prisoner guilty of murdering Britain's worst pedophile laughs as judge brands him a psychopath. A sex offender who murdered... Hold on. So he was sentenced to 34 years in jail. I think that this was just disgusting. Like, okay, so the other guy, yeah, that he killed was like pretty bad person, but what you have to understand about people that want to kill pedophiles is that up to 5% of people are pedophiles. And so if someone is saying, I want to kill pedophiles, it's like the dude who's homophobic and he's really loud about being homophobic. He ends up turning out to be the biggest flamer of the bunch. If someone is willing to violently harm someone, that person is highly statistically likely to rape a woman. A person who is highly statistically likely to rape women is also a person who is highly statistically likely to kill a person. So the two things kind of go hand in hand with each other. I just think it's like, it's not the worst. Okay, people are like, if you murder somebody, they don't do anything. It's like they treat this as if it's worse to be a pedo than it is to murder someone. No, man. Like, murder is murder, dude. The entire reason why you put the pedo in jail is because he totally fucked somebody's life up. He hurt him really bad. And because of that, he's a danger to society. But you know who else is a danger to society? Murderers! Murderers are a threat to society. They are. They are absolutely a danger to a free and open society. So you cannot right a wrong with another wrong. And it just seems like a lot of these people that just want to kill rapists. A pedo's a rapist. It's just another type of a rapist. The reason why they want to hurt them so bad is because they want other people to respect them for it. This is the fundamental problem. They're not doing it to protect children. No way, shape, or form are they doing it to protect children. In fact, chance that they're a pedo is greater than 5%, man. Greater than the statistical likelihood that they're a pedo. But really, they're trying to gain favor. They want women to like them. It's the same mentality behind somebody who wants to kill a rapist. It's not that they're trying to protect women. It's that they want the women to like them. They want to be the savior. They want to be the one that they like. And then it's you're just murdering somebody, trying to say that you're protecting children when this guy's in jail. He's locked up. Who knows if he can be rehabilitated or not? I think I have read the article that they're talking about. I'm familiar with the story. I don't remember all the details, but the guy was pretty sick. It was what was he? He was like raping 3-year-olds or something. Yeah, that was what it was. It was like a bunch of 3-year-olds. It was like, oh, it's just oh my God. I mean, I can't say that this guy didn't deserve it, but I mean, you shouldn't be murdering people. Let the prison take care of it, dude. He'll probably get his just desserts. So here's Richard Huckle Wright was killed. Here's the really bad pedo in his own cell, October 13th by Paul Fitzgerald, and then it was really bloody. It was nasty. Like he like turned him into a pile of mush. Huckle was bound and gagged as Fitzgerald sexually assaulted him with a cooking instrument, shoved a blade pen up his nose. Woo! Sorry, that was kind of a weird noise. I had some sympathy pains there. I'm like, woo! Woo! And he smashed his face and his head into the floor 6 or 7 times. After killing me, he felt high as a kite. 2 prison officers rushed in the cell, discovered Fitzgerald in the same position with his face up against the pedo. Well, he just thinks it's just fucking cool. So, woo, nearly 200 children. Woo, damn. And they were like a daycare or something. Like 3-year-olds, dude. I mean, this guy was sick. I don't know, man. I don't believe in the death penalty, dude. There's too many innocent people. Now, this guy was guilty as sin. Definitely no question that this guy was Britain's worst pedo. But it's just not right to kill people, dude. You shouldn't. So don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below so you can feed the algorithm and share this video on social media. Oh, wait. Am I not doing the thing? Oh. Sorry. Forgetting to do the work here. It is really actually nice to have those links. When you go over to the GitHub, github.com/RSS commentary /Caleb McCullough /issues/109. When you go there, it is actually a good resource if you want to find the stories. The Business Insider Bohemian Grove story too. Apologize if you're not familiar with what I'm doing. I'm just putting down the links because I used to do it before the show, but it was eating up hours of my day and just wasn't getting the show done. So kind of gotta tolerate this. If you want the chopped up clips, you can find the chopped up clips at on YouTube. And we're going on Rumble here as soon as possible. Throw this one in here just because it's funny. Leftover women. I'm a leftover man myself, so I just think it's funny. Oops. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, also on Parlor, Facebook at RSS Commentary. Facebook has no stuff on it, though, right now. I can't believe how fake this article was. This Michigan professor, like, the article didn't resemble what the RSS feed looked like at all. Like, I went, the beginning of the video, I actually started to, like, read it like it was the article that they had presented here. This one. It was like, dude, there's no resemblance to the RSS feed and the article. There's no resemblance, man. Like, other than the picture and the name, it's no resemblance, man. Where was that leftover women one? Sorry, I'm almost done. Why does everybody want virtual reality access? I'm interested in what they're doing with the virtual reality. Actually, I've seen a number of news sites recently have virtual reality access, and I just find that to be incredibly interesting. Another one. So if you want to find the links to the articles, this helps. It also helps me make my website too. So, all right. One more. All right. Good to go. That's that. Caught up. All right. From the New York Post, Trump lauds Dow Jones passing 30,000 in short White House briefing. The king of memes convened a shutdown news conference that lasted less than 10 minutes. Lasted less than a minute on Tuesday to laud the Dow Jones crossing the 30,000 mark for the first time in history. Quote, the stock markets just broke 30,000, never broken that number. That's a sacred number, 30,000. Nobody ever thought they'd see it. Trump said ... Now, the thing that strikes me really just odd about this is we're in the middle of a Great Depression. Like, we just got hit with the China virus. That Kung flu might have been manufactured by the Chinese Nazi Party. They say they're communist, but they allow private property ownership, and that ain't communist. They're capitalists, man. Like, they're absolutely National Socialists, dude. They're hybrid capitalist. Sorry, they're not capitalist. They're hybrid capitalist communists. That means National Socialism. That's what National Socialism is. It's hybrid of communism and capitalism. So the king of memes. Sorry. They always do this fluff. They'll like repeat the thing, and then sometimes I'll accidentally say it. Apologize. Getting better. Quote, the stock market's just broken. Sorry, another repeated thing. Blah, blah, blah. Quote, that's the 9th time since the beginning of 2020. Now it's the 48th time that we've broken records since the Trump administration. And I just want to congratulate all the people with the administration that worked so hard. And most importantly, want to congratulate the people of our country, because there's no people like you. Thank you very much, everybody. And quote, he continued. With that, he turned and walked away from the briefing room as reports yelled questions. Oh, I remember this. So it wasn't a cacophony. Okay, so do we have the video of the thing? It was so pathetic when they left the room. So when Trump left the room, these people are just like going off. Like they didn't get enough. Like it wasn't long enough for them to get what they wanted. So they just went off. Dude, just like this, trying to like ask every single, well, I mean, they're always doing that, but like you can tell the media they're feeling the lack of attention that they've been getting from being an attention whore. And oh man, I shouldn't have loaded up that Steam thing. I allowed the VR thing, and then now it's going to pop up VR stuff. Like that could like take down my live stream if it soaks up all my CPU and the video encoder crashes because I don't have enough CPU power to do it. Might have been why the show's been crashing. So yeah, that's just about, there's much to do about nothing here. I'm not sure why it is that they're having a record stock market. Like, why doesn't the stock market go down? Oh, because they rig it, because it's a bunch of rich people and they're all trying to get richer and richer and richer, and it's just a scam. Okay. Right. Hey, one that's not politics, right on. From Hacker News, German professor who is hardcore Star Wars fan repaints observatory as R2-D2. And just in case you live under a rock, Star Wars came from America because America is badass. The story was from the Mind Circle. And I will have to say, it's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. That is so cute. Oh my God. That is definitely the cutest observatory in the world. Because Hebert Sitz, professor of Salzburg University of Applied Scientists, is known for Star Trek and Star Wars lectures, together with a small team consisting of his father-in-law, Horst Hill, the master painter Klaus Ruffing, and several helping students. He has redesigned the Duisburg Observatory of the National Science Association with galactically good results, I definitely will say. Colors are just great together. The shape is like just, it's almost like R2-D2 is like there. It's like so how did they do it? Just hand paint? Yep. Yeah, it'd be nice if most scientists weren't Democrats, because only 6% of scientists are Democrats. And I would presume in Europe they're just as liberal. Hold on, wait. Only 6% are Republicans. Sorry. The rest vote for Democrats. And they have basically, the scientific community is controlled by the international community. Nothing wrong with that. International community, 80% of them are not white. So in the internet, the reason why scientists are so leftist is because there's institutional anti-racism. And part of it is because there's so many ingenious Asians and Indians that, and other, they're not minority groups. If you're talking about like a global thing, there's not really, black people aren't minorities, white people aren't minorities, Indians aren't minorities, Chinese aren't minorities. There's like a billion of each of those people, more than a billion of each of those people. So you're not a minority if you have more than a billion of your people on the planet. You're smoking crack. Like, oh, black people are minorities. Really? Really? Black people are minorities. Where? In big cities where there's mostly black people, right? They're minorities. Right. That's insane. Not only is that insane, it actually is patently false and kind of stupid whenever you say it. It's like, well, why aren't white people minorities? Only 1/5 of the world is actually white. Well, the reason is because people are only minorities in regions. There's like regions of people where there's like regions of the world where there's like a lot of black people, places where there's a lot of white people in those, and there's places where there's a lot of Chinese and Indians. In those places, they're not minorities, dude. They're the majority, dude. You people are on one. Anything else about this story? Scientific community is really bad about anti-racism. Well, hold on. Why was I saying that? Hold on. Institutionalized anti-racism, and then why? I had a point. Oh, because they're always so leftist. I love scientists. I'm a computer scientist and a computer engineer, and I do like nerding out with these people, but there's like most of these people that are in the scientific community are so far left, they're gone, they're on one, and they've turned into jerks. They're all like, in person, they'll be nice. They'll be like really nice. And then behind your back, they're like backstabbers. They don't like you because you disrespected women. You're not respectful enough to women, and you're not a good enough engineer or computer scientist for them to hang out with because they're the elite. You're not elite enough to be with them. You're below them in their class, and you're a privileged white male who is at the one that is in the oppressive class that oppresses the minority groups and the whaman. And so this means that you, because you think you're superior than everyone else, now have to be outcasted because in the scientific community, because most of the people in the world are not white, if you disrespect brown people, they will kick you out. Does this sound familiar? It's brown supremacy, dude. It's anti-white racism. This shit's rampant. So they're sitting there saying, I'm too good to associate with you because you're not an elite engineer. You don't work in Silicon Valley or the big tech company. And your grades weren't good enough. And so that means that you're not good enough to be with your people. And you criticize feminism. So that means you're sexist. And you're a white male. So that means you're privileged. And so that means we have to attack your white privilege, and we have to hire minorities and women instead of you because of equality. And then I won't hang out with you because you're not good enough to be around me because you're not elite. They're hypocrites, man. That's what I can't stand about the scientific community, dude. I love science. I wrote the world's fastest number printing algorithm. I've got my own C++ API. I got some cool AI. I got this badass IMU language. I got a lot of stuff. You know, you can look around my studio. It's pretty dope. I don't know. You can't really see too much. This is just part of the studio. You know, it's like, but, oops, what was that? I can't stand the scientific community. They're radicalized leftists. And honestly, I blame the Europeans. I really do blame the European. Sorry, I'm having trouble saying this. The Europistans, they banned hate speech there. And they forced people to pay people equally there. You can't not pay people equally. You can't disrespect the Muslims. They say that's hate speech. But then the Muslims are up in their mosque saying that the non-believers need to be put to death. So the Muslims are nice to you to your face. And I remember this in engineering school. The Saudi guys were some of my good friends in the program. We'd hang out a lot. I felt like they were a lot more like normal guys than most of the privileged white kids in the program going there on mommy and daddy's money. The Saudi guys regularly had women problems where they're like going up like they just seem like regular women problems. Like these guys are normal to me. But the one thing I can never get out of my mind is right after engineering school, they blocked me. As soon as I was no longer needed for them to get a good grade, I was an infidel and I was blocked on LinkedIn. And just on LinkedIn. Like blocked, not just like wouldn't accept my friend request. Blocked. That soured my opinion of Muslims because I also saw some secret footage inside of mosques where the people outside of the mosque were preaching to the people, oh, convert to Islam. And then you go in the mosque and they got Wahhabism in there. That's for the stuff from Iran, where they're like always chanting, kill the Jews. And they were preaching about killing infidels. So to your face, they're nice to you. And then behind your back, they're talking about wanting to kill you. I have a big problem with people like that. I really do. I don't want them around me. I like Arabs, but I do not like people who encourage terrorism and who condone violence against women and who condone who are misogynistic. Like, it's just putting burqas on women is a deal breaker for me. If you do that, I am an anti-feminist. I despise feminism. Women can have children. That means a woman who can have a baby is worth one or more people because she is one person, but she can be more than one. A man can only be one person. Every single man is only one person. Every single woman who could possibly have a baby is greater than or equal to one person. That means that they have more value. Not only that, feminism causes women to put off having children until their 30s so they could rise up in the corporate ladder, so they could be a scientist, so that they can slave for Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk, Xi Jinping, Maduro, and they don't want to have kids because if you did that, then then they would have to be in marriage, and then marriage is oppressive. But then vast majority of affluent people, and especially scientists are usually affluent, and they are usually very heavily feminist. The engineers are a lot more like me. The scientists are a lot more like feminists, and women, there's a lot more like the women. There's not as many women engineers as there are scientists. And if you look at, we have a birth rate of 1.8 children per woman, right? And so you got to have 2.1 kids in order to maintain your population. If you don't do that, your family dies off. If everybody has 1.8 kids, eventually our population will shrink down until there's only one person left, because that's the way the world works. So feminists are like trying to say, oh, but it has to be all about me and my career. What's best for me? And then they don't want to do shit for the kids. All the parents spent millions of dollars to raise these kids. People spend on average $1 million on a kid. And they don't want to give back. And then their people die off. It's like, so if you got 1.8 people, do the math. You can't have 1.8 kids, right? What do you end up having? You have one kid. Or you have no kids, right? That's the way the world works, right? Maybe if you're lucky, you'll have 2 or 3. If you're unlucky, you might have 5 or 10. Maybe that's lucky. I don't know. I do actually have a friend who's very religious person, and he does have that many kids. And he loves it. That's great, man. He's the man. And he's got a good job, and he's taking care of business. He's the man. I highly respect that. But the thing is you're killing off your family in order to get a raise at work. And then you're having a kid, and then you want to still have your career. It's like you want your cake and eat it too. It's like you want to, then you ignore your kid. You like hire a nanny, or you just don't do it, and you just like let the kid fuck off and turn into like some party kid in high school that starts getting arrested and getting in trouble. And not many men are going to want to date a woman who's almost always at work and is a bullshit mom. And the scientists are just all about this. They will flip away. They'll block you. They'll shut you down. They'll tell all their friends that you're a horrible person if you think like this. And then they're killing their family off. Why is there equality? It's like, what good does equality do when your family's dead? There's nobody there. Like, you're gone, dude. Like, your family's dead, dude. How the fuck is that equal treatment when you're dead? Never were born. It doesn't make any sense. It never made any sense. It was just some feel-good shit that they were trying to make the women like them, because they wanted to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below to feed the algorithm. The best way you can support this channel is by sharing this video on social media. Don't forget to check out rsscommentary.com and RSS Commentary on GitHub. So what do we got? I'm running out of time. I'm going to do another show in the morning. Let's look at Adolf Hitler's face in the cat. From the Daily Mail, owner is shocked to see Adolf Hitler's face staring out from a cat's ear. Adolf Hitler's menacing eyes, straight nose, and infamous mustache can be seen gazing out from inside kitten Collie's ear after the feline was photographed in an Aarhus, Denmark. Are they bullshitting us? What do we got? Is it actually Hitler inside of this cat's ear? There it is. There's I'm not seeing it, man. I'm not seeing it. Don't forget to leave a comment. Does this look like Adolf Hitler? Yes or no? I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Yeah, where's the chat thing? I'm sorry. I'm going to add the chat in. I've been doing Restream IO and yeah, I think this isn't just supposed to be kale commentary on RSS feeds. This is actually, the show is actually designed for you people to comment. So, yeah, but yeah, usually it's just me up here going off on tangents. I don't know. I'm not buying it. I don't see Adolf Hitler's face in the earbud. I'd love to hear your opinion. What was it like that looked like Adolf? What is that, like the mustache and? I mean, those look like eyes, right? It's just, it doesn't. It looks more like, to me, it looks more like Lenin, the dictator of the USSR. I think it actually kind of does look like Lenin. Vladimir Lenin. Yeah, Lenin. It does look like Lenin. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is, yeah, that way looks like Lenin, dude. See, it's the beard. See, that's the thing. That doesn't look like a Hitler mustache because it's not in the center of his nose. That would be where the Hitler stash would be. This is not a Hitler mustache in any way, shape, or form. That is Vladimir Lenin. So, we have found fake news from the Daily Mail. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. It doesn't take a genius to realize that was Vladimir Lenin. I've just seen his picture too many times recently studying World War II history, trying to figure out why the hell the Antifa is going off about fascists. That's what I was, because I knew, I was like, them talking about fascism, like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't remember when it started to click with me that the people who are like the Antifa, who are calling everybody fascist, that they don't know what fascism is. They don't even know what the people stood for. If you ask people what the fascists stood for, they would say a dictator. They would not. Vast majority of people, let's say probably 99.99% of people, could not tell you what the Fascist Manifesto was about. If you have not looked at the Fascist Manifesto, it's funny. They were feminists. They were first wave feminists. Look, just go to the Fascist Manifesto on Wikipedia. Look at this shit, dude. You want to talk about some leftist shit, dude. Politically, the manifesto calls for universal suffrage, for reducing the voting age to 18, and for 25 and up to run for office, proportional representation on a regional basis, voting for women, representation at government level of newly created national councils by economic sector, abolition of the Senate, formulation of National Council of Experts of Labor, so oligarchy, elements of oligarchy. So they, and then they wanted 8-hour workday, a minimum wage. They wanted labor unions. These people are as lib as it gets, dude. You don't get any more lib than fascist. You don't. You don't. You really don't. And the reason why they wanted a dictator, very easy. They wanted a dictator because people wouldn't give them what they wanted. That's why leftists go for dictators. That's why they put dictators in office. It's because the conservatives wouldn't give them what they wanted. Oh, and then they also want a reduction in retirement age from 65 to 55. Anything else? I mean, these people are like, they sound like Democrats, except for they sound like today's Democrats. Democrats back then were rabid white supremacists, and they like ran the KKK. They were pretty bad people back then. They definitely were not good people in any way, shape, or form. No. Bad people in every way, shape, and form. Hold on. You know, I'm done hating on racist people. I'm done. We can still hate on the KKK, but it's just, man, it's free speech. I'm not going to hate. If you don't like somebody, if you don't like a group of people, if you don't like liberals or you don't like conservatives, I don't see that as being any different than the skin color, to be quite honest. What is the difference in between hating liberals and hating black people? What's the difference? There is none. You hate a group of people based on stereotypes, and it's the same thing. And either way, I'm more on the ticket of who was that guy that converted KKK guys? This guy. I like this guy. I think this is the better ideology to deal with hate. Right? Instead of hating the KKK, pushing them into the shadows, I think people should do what this black dude did to convert KKK dudes. And how many robes did he get? 200. He got 200 Klan members to give them their robes. And how did he do it? By befriending them, by stopping demonizing them. Like, yeah, they're behind this scary hood. Yeah, the KKK killed like I think it was like 3,000 people. But African Americans murder about 10,000 people in the US each year. Like every single year. How many people? Every year. This one's old. Is it down? Okay, so it went down from, okay, they updated the numbers. It's gone down. It's not a fact correction. It's a fact change. Number of the homicides from previous year. Last year was almost 20,000. This year it's gone down to 18.3 thousand. So African Americans murder about half of these people. Really despise how if you press control and then you press enter, it opens it in a new window. I think that was horrible. Victims of homicide. This one's saying 36. Oh. 50% of all murder. Hold on. This isn't the same. Yeah, you know, sometimes you look and there's like, we're going with these numbers because they're from the US government. Yeah, I mean, it's 50%, right? Here's the manslaughter. And then there's murder. Oh, no, that's the same. Okay. The numbers aren't exact. I'll figure that out. I'm gonna get these numbers straight because I do not like the numbers not being right. I'm a big numbers guy. What were these from? 2019. Okay, so the murders have gone down. The numbers that I was here. Let's look at the prior year. Where did I get those other ones? Sorry, I'm having to. Well, we're missing the stats for some of the other murders because we have discrepancies in the murder count. There was 18,000 by the CDC, and then we have a discrepancy here. There's a discrepancy, so I recognize that that's there. I'm going to figure that out. I don't think that I can do that right now. What was my point? The fascism. This guy. I think he's got a better strategy to not hate on them, but instead to become friends with them and then to, be funny. This guy's a blues musician and he's a funny guy. And, you tell him some jokes and you butter him up. They'll probably be like, man, I'm not really actually that racist. I just really just like they're the other. And then we just kind of ended up on this side and, yeah, I don't think that this is good. That's probably what they'll say. Some of them will probably be a bigot, but most of the people will probably be, you know what? I'm tired of being enraged. I'm tired of being angry. All right, let's end this. All right. That's the way I see it. I think it's a better outlook in life. I think this guy, Daryl Davis, is the man. I think that would be the best thing that, okay, so homicides. We do have a discrepancy. But it's not my fault. I've looked at these numbers a number of times and they always look the same. And then all of a sudden, was this the same one? Sorry, I'm gonna put that on the to-do list. Let's put this make sure I get this on the table, and then I'm gonna go back and then let's put the to-do. I'm gonna put a section called fact check, and I'm gonna put a thing. This is the level of detail you can expect from me. If you want to get good information, I'm not down with conspiracy theories or bad data. There's obviously a discrepancy here. We're going to figure that out. Here's the crime table, right? Here's FBI. Boy, all of the tables are different. They're not the same. Daryl Davis on there. Don't forget about him. And I think, actually, I'm done. It's 1:30 a.m. This has been a wow. Wow, that was 3 hours, 44 minutes. Huh? It just seems like just like that to me, man. It was a lot of fun. So I'm gonna head out and let's see, is this? Yeah, thank you very much for watching RSS commentary on Tuesday, November 24th. It's currently the 25th. This is a pretty typical pattern on this show. I will start at sometimes I'm going back to the morning show. I've got this stuff set up. If you've never seen that show, there's this I make coffee. I'll make coffee and then read RSS news articles. And I have a new tea setup. And so I'll be making tea. And I have some friends coming to help out with the show. And we're hoping to blow up. Also, we'll be selling webcams too and other budget gear. Trying to get that hustle on, get that YouTube money. Thank you very much for tuning in. I do appreciate every view, every like, every subscribe, every share, every comment. I think that if we can keep going, I do believe that this RSS commentary can big ups. I think we can get some cool stuff going on. So as I say every time, thank you very much for watching. Farewell, sayonara, aloha, and